see if it works this time. All right, we got Facebook on. Prayerfully, you guys can be able to see us over here. I don't know what's going on the platforms today. Ugh. And thank you for your patience, though. So those who are on, if somebody was on TikTok, we're trying to. All right, those who are coming, can somebody let us know? Oh wow, okay, brother Dennis, looks like you were on TikTok. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can anybody hear or see me on TikTok? Weird. Okay. All right, try this again. Can anybody hear or see me on TikTok? I think we might have found the podcast is up and going. Facebook looks like it's going. IG is up and going. Can anybody hear or see me on TikTok? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Anybody hear or see me on TikTok? Shalom, Sister Sharice. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay, Wanda says, yep. Dennis says, yep. Okay, you see and hear. Okay, I don't know what was going on before. It was saying something was wrong with the signal, even though I have 5 bars and LTE showing, so I'm not sure what was going on. Hey, Shalom Shabbos, how you doing? All right, thank you for everybody on all the different platforms. Sorry about that. We're on TikTok. This thing is trying its best to mess up. We have connection, fine, but it keeps saying we don't have good connection. I don't understand. I might need to put this on Wi-Fi real quick for TikTok to work. If it does it one more time, y'all, I'm just going to put it on the Wi-Fi connection. So, yeah. So I apologize. Thank you for your patience, though, as we get ready for this. And those of you who were okay, user 415, all right. Thank you for those who are joining us after our early riser session as well. Grand Rising Betty, I see you guys. Okay, so we'll see if it keeps going, because it says I have fine connection, but it keeps saying the connection's going bad, which means that something's happening on TikTok's end. I'm not going to act like it's necessarily malicious or anything, but I'm just saying it's not on our end, because it says we have great signal where we are, but it keeps going in and out. Okay, now you're saying you can't hear? Okay, something's really going on now. Something really going on now. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to have to switch to the Wi-Fi. Hold on, I'll be right back, TikTok. So I don't know. I'm trying my best. So TikTok, I just put it on the Wi-Fi. If it doesn't work at this point, it's not on me. I don't know what to tell you guys. Okay, so now it's working. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I got stuff connected to the Wi-Fi. Usually I do TikTok just from the phone. So I don't know what's going on. I've got it on Wi-Fi. At this point, if it's not working, it's not on me. I don't know what to tell you. Everything's strong. All signals are strong. I'm next to the window. I don't know what to tell you guys. It was working. Well, on my end, it keeps saying that it's going red and green. So it's telling me the signal's not working. Either way, though, we're fine. We're on. We appreciate you all. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this new series, Having Been Led as We Believe, right? So what I was trying to say for the beginning is we're calling it Having Been Led as We Believe because back in the day, if you look up, even if you probably Google, there's something called like a red hymnal. For those who go old school, if you go to church, if you went to church, basically in the back of the on the back of the pews, you would see these hymnals there, right? You would see these hymnals and they basically would have all these songs, right? And it would also have certain things that you would repeat. It would have scriptures you could use for certain things you were either preaching on, or things you wanted people to read from. And at the beginning of it, it would have something that basically talked about the belief system. And it would start off with having been led as we believe, by the Spirit and by the Bible or different things, something along those lines, right? And so people have been asking us for a while now to do something specific as far as what do you believe, why is it that you believe this, etc. And we're working on having something written out, but while writing it out, we figured why not do a little series as we're writing this out. So we welcome everybody on all the platforms, on TikTok, on the podcast, on Facebook, on IG. Thank you for your patience. You guys have been sitting here waiting for this stuff to work. I don't know what's going on. Nevertheless, we have this series started for you. And when you're talking about this, when we say what we believe, of course, we're focusing on, our canon, which we do use the Bible. Now, when we say that, we have to be very careful even with that, because people will go, what are you talking about on as far as the Bible is concerned? When we talk about the Bible, we're talking about Paleo Hebrew, the original. We're always about original. Etymology, we're about original. Everything, we're about original. We're trying our best to always look at what is the original, and that's what we deal with. And everything we talk about, we're always going to talk about culture. Shalom, Digakon, how you doing? I don't even know who's on now. It looks like everybody's leaving TikTok, so I don't know what's going on, even though it says that a lot of you are on. Can you guys do me a favor? If you're on right now on TikTok, can you just say I'm on? Or yeah, if you're on TikTok, if you don't mind, could you just type in real quick, I'm on? I want to see something real quick, because the numbers are shifting, but it looks like we have more. You're on. Anybody else? Can anybody else just put I'm on while we're going? I just want to see something real quick as we're going. So, long story short, okay, yeah, so the numbers that they're showing me don't match who's actually on. Okay, so we'll leave that alone. Put whatever comments you can in the comment section. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, I'll let you know. But if I don't see your questions or comments or something today, it's just, they're telling me that, like Austria, I see that you say you're on. Sister Tracy, I see you say you're on. Then it said you're on, but it doesn't show you guys up top. So it is what it is today. We're going to be here. All right. Hey, Katie, how you doing? All right. So long story short, people say, what do you believe? Right. And so when we talk about the Bible, a lot of people go to a place of, oh, okay, so you're Christian. No. Which throws people for a loop. Okay, you're a black Hebrew Israelite. Well, I am black, I'm Hebrew, I'm Israelite. So what are you referring to? Are you saying, am I somebody who's is on the street corner and disagrees with those brothers that are on the street corner? I don't necessarily disagree with everything they say. However, do I disagree with somebody calling people the N-word, calling white people crackers, saying that you're evil just because you're white, things like that? No, I don't agree with that, right? Neither do we believe that the Bible says those things either, right? So then you get people, well, what about LGBTQ plus? You think they're all going to hell? Well, no, I don't believe that I have a heaven or hell to put anybody inside of, right? So then they go, well, so you believe that they're following the word and they can be, homosexual or whatever. I don't believe that, but I believe that they have a right to their humanity and they have a right to make choices because they have free will. Right? Yeah, numbers are not matching exactly. So we'll just keep on going. It's fine. That's not going to stop us from what we do. Amen. So long story short, we're going to talk about what we believe, and we have to always start from this place, which is culture. You guys have been with us for a while. You guys know one of the first places we're going is going to be culture. We're going to always talk about culture first because culture informs your habits. Culture is going to inform everything you do. And so if we believe in anything, we will do it habitually. Yeah, TikTok is always playing games. I'm not concerned about it, though. We're going to focus on what we're talking about. So anything we're going to talk about, we're always going to come from a place of culture. We believe in proper culture, proper etymology, making sure that we do what we're supposed to do, learn what we're supposed to learn, speak how we're supposed to speak. And so everything we do is always going to be on culture. Matter of fact, when we speak on something else, we have to speak about it from culture. So when somebody asks me, for example, about a vaccine, I'm going to come from culture first. Where does even a vaccine come from? What is a vaccine supposed to do? Who created vaccines? Why do we think that it's natural to stab somebody in their vein and get a positive result? Right? Like, these are things that we have to talk about culturally. Like, it's all culture. No matter what we're speaking on, we're going to have to talk about culture, right? And so, and even when people ask me, right, which is, amen, culture, our culture, the law, right? And we're even going to talk about that some today. So when we speak on culture, culture is huge. So before people even ask me, people will say, what version of the Bible should I read? Right? I'll tell them it doesn't matter what version you read if you don't know the culture. Now, some people get thrown off by that, right? What do you mean it doesn't matter what version you read, et cetera, et cetera? Well, it doesn't matter what version of the Bible you read if the culture is not correct. right? If culturally you're not on track, then you won't get what you're supposed to get. So you can read the Constitution of the United States of America all day, but if you don't know there's a Constitution of the United States that goes with the Constitution of the United States of America, you'll miss the culture, right? Culture is everything, right? So if somebody says the United States of America is not based off of slavery, like some people will say this, and they're not wrong in saying this. However, they're culturally off in saying this. But you'll have some people that will tell you straight up, but the United States of America is not based off of slavery. You won't see the word slave show up in the Constitution one time, and you're absolutely right. You'll see the word bond and free. Free means you're not a slave. Bond means you are a slave. That's cultural, right? So you're arguing something but don't even recognize the culture is that you're arguing is telling you straight up they believe in slavery. But you, because you don't know that slave is equal to bond, you don't read into that, right? I'm doing well, thank you, Autumn. Thanks for being part of the community. Thanks for being part of the community, Ricky and Bella Bell and everybody on all the platforms, all 4 platforms we're on right now. We appreciate you, right? So if I don't have the proper culture concerning something, I'll miss everything that they have to say. When somebody says you're misappropriating culture, how do you know somebody's misappropriating culture if you don't even know what culture is? How do you know if you're right? So somebody will argue, I'm not misappropriating culture. But if you don't know what the culture is and what that means to somebody, how do you know? So you're having arguments a lot of times with people that has to do with culture, right? You're having you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, but you're deleting culture out of the conversation, right? You're trying to have a conversation with somebody, but we're deleting culture out of the conversation. When we delete the culture out of the conversation, we get to a place where we're not having proper conversation. Thank you for the thank you for that, Autumn. So we don't talk about things culturally. We don't talk about like the culture of marriage, for example, right? If we're not going to talk about the culture of marriage, Daddy Chap, I didn't even see what Daddy Chap or whatever his name said, but thank you for being on that. Yeah, it's not even showing up. That's what I'm saying. TikTok's not even working correct. I didn't even see who that was. So I apologize today if I don't see you guys' comments and stuff. I'm not seeing a lot on here. I don't even know what he asked, but he deleted it. Okay. So, but thank you for catching it for me. We appreciate those who are making sure that they help us out with moderating. But when you're dealing with culture, you're dealing, with that's what you're dealing with. So when somebody says, "What do you believe biblically?" First and foremost, I got to talk about culture, and even something like agriculture. When you're reading the Bible's agricultural. So that's why you're going to hear stuff talking about the wheat and the tare. You're going to talk about the kingdom of heaven is like the wheat and the tare. You're going to say the kingdom of heaven is like the person who had the treasure hid in the midst of the field. You're going to hear him talking about you become you are a fisherman. I'm going to teach you how to be a fisherman of men, right? Agriculture. You're going to hear stuff like the kingdom of heaven is like a sower who sows seed in the field, right? And some of it fell on bad ground, when it was ate up. Some of it fell on ground where it didn't go down but so deep. Some of it fell in ground but it got choked up by the weed. Some of it was grew and it was 30, 60, 100 fold. That's all cultural, even agricultural. Shalom, Minister Tamara, how you doing? Right? So these are things that when we're talking about, we have to be ready for that. You said be sure to hit like hearts every 5 minutes. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Sister Tracy was saying, I guess if you guys, thank you, by the way, for your likes and all that. It helps us with our algorithm and things like that. But I guess Sister Tracy was saying that we need to make sure that we have that we hit the likes. I guess if you hit them every 5 minutes or so, it does something. So thanks. I appreciate that. I didn't know that. Nevertheless, thank you for being on. Thanks for being part of the community. Thanks for joining us in this journey culturally. So we're talking about culture on this rising, right? We got to be honest and have conversation about culture. If we don't know about the culture of this, and this is the problem, is that people are talking about culture and you're talking about habits, trying to form habits from something without culture. Because culture, here's the list, and I'm going to say it again. Here's the list, and I'm going to say it a few times. You guys are going to keep hearing me say this over and over again if you haven't been with us for a while. But culture informs habits. Culture informs habits, which means cultures are going to, this is the list from culture to habits. And we actually have this on our YouTube channel. If you look up hashtag FindKofi, hashtag FIND, my name, KOFI, hashtag FindKofi, you'll discover that we already have a video on this. But if you look up culturally what we're talking about, right, what you're talking about is the culture of something, the culture of heaven, the culture of this, the people who even wrote this. So culture informs beliefs. Beliefs will inform emotions. Emotions will inform your feelings. Feelings will inform your mood. Mood will inform your effort. I'm sorry, mood will inform your effort or energy, and your effort or energy is going to be put directly into your habits, and then you're going to circle right back. Your habits are going to basically be the thing that keeps your culture in place. Thank you for the love, a little red diamond, appreciate it, right? So your culture, it forms your habits, right? Your culture is going to inform your habits, and a lot of people are not trying to be honest about the culture, nor can you be honest about something that you are not aware of, right? It's very easy to live a lie when you're ignorant that you're living a lie. And hopefully you guys can hear me all right. Looks like you guys can hear me all right. On TikTok, I got a weird setup for TikTok on my stand. But so prayerfully you guys are receiving that and getting that. That's one-on-one. If I can get the culture correct, right, then the habits are taken care of, right? But a lot of people have a bad culture, which means you have bad habits. You said that's why we as people commit so many crimes. Our culture breeds criminals. Well, that's a culture we've taken on. That's a persona. We did a whole series recently on person versus persona. A lot of people live a persona that's not ours. Okay, thank you, Sister Sonia. So a lot of us are living a persona that has nothing to do with us. A lot of us are living a persona that has nothing to do with us, right? We've taken on a persona of it's better to be a killer than it is to be somebody who's educated. That has nothing to do with us, right? We've taken on a culture that says that it's better to have a corporate job than it is to have your own business. That has nothing to do with us. We've taken on a culture that says be part of the United States corporation, but don't be a United States citizen so you can be a natural person by law rather than a fictitious character that's allowed to be owned by a corporation. A corporation, by the way, doubles in definition as a person. So the person, the corporation, is the master and the owner, and you are the slave. You are the fictitious person. You are your birth certificate, right? The fictitious straw man, right? That's a culture, that's a persona that we've taken on, but that's not our culture, right? First things first is always your culture. We talked about this before as well when we were doing our Willie Lynch syndrome thing. We did our last, not our last one, but I think in part 13, we started talking heavily about the fact that whichever one, I think it was the 13, part 13. A couple days ago, we talked about self-control. You said, can you come in or come on? Are you talking about, can you come on live? I guess for a little bit, I kind of got to stay with an assignment, but I guess you can come on for a tiny bit. And then we're going to have to, I won't be able to stay on with you too long, but we have a brief conversation. You said I've been speaking truth, and now we're getting shadow banned. I want to be part of the Chan. Is that change or conversation? But yeah, I mean, you can come on as a guest if you have, I think you have to have what? Like, don't you have to have a certain amount of followers? Like, I think you got to have 1,000 or something like that to come on live. So I can't just tell you can come on live, but you can do a guest request. But I think it's going to tell you you have to have 1,000 people on, whatever. If you have 1,000 followers, you can just request to come on, and I should be able to let you on. Or if you want to even call in, if you want to come in on the podcast, you have to have the Kofi 40 podcast on, and you got to have the Podbean app. So if you go to the Podbean app and look up the Kofi 40 podcast and join us there, you can join in. Okay, it looks like, okay, you're requesting. Okay, so you can come on just for a second. I'm not sure how long we'll keep you on. That looks like you'll be able to come on in a little bit.
Hello?
Hey, Shalom, how you doing?
Yes, sir. Real quick, let me get up because my wife just got a call. Hold on for a second. The reason why I said I wanted to come on is because I wanted to be a part of a group of individuals that share your same mindset and mentality, level of understanding.
Amen.
One of my newest belief systems is I started paying more attention to self and realizing that my mom used to always say, what's good for the gander is good for the goose, right?
Okay,
so I started looking at myself first, getting the speck out my own eye before I could worry about the beam out my own eye before I could get the speck out my brother's eye. I started realizing what was good for me first before I could ever think what might be good for the whole of us as a community. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to realize if we stop trying to do what our counterparts are doing and do what we're supposed to do, we'd be a lot better off, just as a group of individuals.
Very true.
And I'm catching a lot of flack about that. If you got any time, look at my page, you start to see where I'm saying, listen, I'm not saying that culturally or sociologically we separate ourselves from people. Like we can still be friends and cool with that. But I think that intermingling and mixing in with other people is bad for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to see that. This is how I feel personally. I was looking over all the different, because I was raised to be a proselyte, so I studied every religion ever. You know what I'm saying? I was raised in to study them all. And I looked at them and I realized there was one central thing for people like us in general, was that we were to be of our own people and separated from other people in certain regards. And as long as we did that and abide by the rules that were set for us in that regard, we were okay. But when we start to mingle with people in a certain and violating the rules in that aspect, that's when our lives start going to crap. Okay, there's a rule that says that you're not supposed to take a razor to the edge of your hair. You're not supposed to cut it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we talk about the law at this point, but I'm just using that as a framing device. See what I'm saying?
Right.
I was doing that for years, and I started balding right here. So I twisted my locks. I stopped doing what counterculture taught me, which was that my locks or my hair was a bad thing. I stopped looking at it as a bad thing, and I twisted my locks, and now I have no bald spot. You understand? I had arthritis when I was a child. I was diagnosed when I was 13 years old. I went vegan, and now I don't have arthritis anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I'm starting to see that the way that the Most High set us apart, if I started living that way, my life got better. And I learned that with us, especially as an autonomic group, you know what I'm saying? With us, it's like, show me the money. If you can show me that what you're doing is right, because I mean, it's the Bible's riddled with situations like that. People now are like that. Oh well, show me where it worked for you, and I'll show you, and I'll believe what you got to say. It's like we all from the show me thing, and I completely understand that. You see what I'm saying? But when I look at you and what you're doing, it's like, okay, I would like to be a part of that. So I want to know, how could I be of service?
I first of all appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, soldier. And so I got your I just wrote you down on my calendar. Greedy boy BOI_7, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna check you out. I know you said check out yourself. I'm check out stuff on your platform. So we have let me see if I can put this up real quick while you on. In the background, I'm gonna take but so we have obviously you can reach out to us, and if you reach out to this number, it'll be me more than likely that's going to get back to you. So I'm gonna just put the number on there, this number that you can reach out to. But also too, I'm gonna try and get with you later today. I got a couple things that I got to do for the family, as far as some things, some chore type stuff, and some stuff for to make sure my wife and everything's flowing and stuff she needs. But I'll try to see if I can reach out to you later. But here's a number you can text. And that's a website too that should have email and stuff on there as well. But I'll try to reach out to you. I'll try to DM you if you want to DM me too. And we're just we starting up a men's group, number one. So that'll be an easy way for you to. We're supposed to meet up at the end of this December to start meeting up as men. And we're doing stuff nationwide. So we can get information. I won't do it online right now, obviously, but I can get your information as far as like where you at when we come through and stuff, maybe even sit down, break bread, do something like that. And definitely, because at the end of the day, to kind of even further what you're saying, when it comes to our belief and our culture, like, I say it like this is something that people who hear me talk a lot probably heard me say now for years, but Ruach HaKodesh showed me, the Holy Spirit showed me a long time ago. When you, like this example, let's say you going to gamble or whatever, right? You going to Vegas, wherever you're going to Ocean City, you going down to Miami, wherever you going to gamble somewhere. And when you go to gamble, basically, there's some tables that you can't play at unless you got a certain amount of chips. Like you can want to play there all day, but it's not even a racism thing at that point. Like you can say that circumstance, but they're just being real with you. Like, hey, at this table, you don't play here unless like you got a certain amount of chips, right? So first thing that we normally do. So what happens is like this. Let's say, and I'm gonna just use because term race or whatever, we know race means different things, but I'm gonna use the term race since that's what we all familiar with, right? So you go to the table. and you got, let's say this white race shows up and they got 10,000 chips, right? So let's say it's a 500 chip minimum, but they got 10,000 chips, and then you got this Asian race, so to speak, and they got 5,000 chips, and you got this race of India, and they got 4,000 chips, et cetera, et cetera. You got all these races that come to the table. Black race shows up, or so-called black man, Israelites, Yashra'al, et cetera. We show up as a people. And what we do all the time is this. We go, man, it's 500 chip minimum. I only got 100 chips. So we start saying, hey, you took my chips. You took my chips. You did this, and you took from me, and you took my culture, and blah, blah. And by the way, we're not wrong to say that, but when we show up to the table, they don't care. They're like, well, that's true, but we don't have nothing to do. Like, you can't play this game, regardless of what happened. You can't play in this game unless. So then finally, they'll get tired of hearing us ask for the chips. They say, you know what, fine, give them this, give them this. So then we only get 500. Now, before we play the game, though, we didn't even know what game we playing. Are we playing poker? We playing Texas version of it. We playing a blackjack. We playing whatever. We don't even know what we playing. We could be playing spades, whatever. We don't know what we playing, though. At the end of the day, we just happy because we got in. Now we start playing, and we playing blackjack, and all of a sudden, we got two aces we put on the table, acting like we did something, and that's like 2 aces. This ain't Texas Hold'em. This is, you ain't won nothing, right? So then we get mad. Well, I didn't know how to play, and you didn't do this. So what we say is, okay, fine. So now what happens is that same game takes place, but that person goes away and says, you know what? I can't go ahead and be at the table. They're right. I can't play at the table because I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have these things. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get a business together. I'm going to make sure that my house is in order. I'm going to make sure that I'm investing. I'm going to make all this stuff. So then I come back the next year, and the same people are at the table. They're like, oh man, here come that black race again. They always got their hand out. They always asking for this. They always saying it's somebody else's fault. And then all of a sudden what happens? Next thing we do is we say, okay, we just sit down at the table. And they say, what you sitting down here for? The dealer remembers us. He says, you can't play this game. Don't you remember last year what happened? Oh yeah, here you go. And we put out, $50,000 and say, give me 50,000 in chips. And everybody looking like, how'd you do that? And all we got to do is look at him and say, it's not your concern. I'm not here to tell you how I did anything. Just give me the chips so we can start playing. At that point, it's a different mindset. It's a different conversation. It's a different belief system that happens, so we can look eye to eye. And a lot of us, no matter where I've been in the world, right? When I was in the military, or when I've gone on my own, or when I've gone with my family, or gone with my wife, we've gone different places. People that are us, that we as a group, as a culture, we're always looking at, okay, we know who we are, or some of us, we're coming to the knowledge of who we are, but even we have to get past the point of, hey, everything has to be based off of somebody else's standard. Every time we look at a flag, when you look at the American flag, that's a standard. That's what that thing means. If you look at the Brazilian flag, that's a standard, right? If you look at the Garveyite flag, that's a standard. All of them are standard, right? And so like what we're doing is we constantly and consistently looking at everybody else's standard, but we don't have a standard for ourselves. So that's why I'm saying when we look at the culture, whether we're talking about those that are Yashra'al, those that are Hebrew, those that are grafted in, whatever the case might be across the board, right? We have to first make sure that we even say, what is the culture, right? And like you're saying, like the culture brings health. Like why are we have a culture where we about, instead of just eating things that are natural, we're about high fructose corn syrup. We're about making sure that we're eating medicine, because medicine is food, right? It's why is it that we're injecting things rather than just eating things that are natural anyways, right? Like these are conversations. So that's why I was saying everything starts with culture. So I'm in agreement with you, and definitely now that I got your info, and I'll make sure I spell it out. I'm pretty sure I spelled it out, right? I'll make sure I spell it out. So when I reach out to you, I'll make sure that I'm actually reaching out to you. I don't want to say I'm gonna reach out and then I don't, but I got GREEDYBOI_7, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can hold me accountable too. So if I don't reach out to you, feel free to text that number. You know what I'm saying, and hit me up and be like, hey, this greedy boy we just talking on TikTok, blah 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 blah. And I promise you, like I got you. But I'll try to reach out to you when we finish this live, because I don't really have much going on outside of taking care of some family commitments. So even while running around, I should be able to reach out to you. So I don't know what your schedule's like, but I don't want to, just in case people sometimes looking at your business, but I'll contact you and I'll make sure that we hit each other.
I'm gonna go fix this car and then I'll be free. So one thing to give you some background about who I am and what I believe, the thing that changed me over to the thought process, and this is short, real short. The thing that changed me over to the thought process changing how I eat and consume things was Daniel. When they was calling him Belteshazzar, and they was having the dietary restriction for the men that work for the Pharaoh, what they chose to eat and what they chose to eat, and the outcomes of that. That's what made me start taking a longer look at what it is that I put in my body. You see what I'm saying? And that right there should let you know about what I believe in and the stance that I take in regard to that.
Yes, sir. Yep. So I'm gonna hit you up, and I'm gonna also contact you with the guy who's making sure that he keeps us brothers connected and stuff too, if you don't mind. But I'll talk to you about it offline. But yeah, so I'm gonna let you get to the car and stuff like that, and then I'm definitely gonna hit you up after.
How much time you need? Okay, you said call you if you don't get in touch with me. My question to you is, how much time shall I allow?
I mean, if where are you? Eastern time, Central time,
Eastern time.
Okay, so if you don't get a text or a DM or something from me, bare minimum I don't have your number, so if you don't get a DM from me by, I say 11 at the latest, then feel free to hit me up. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you, bro. Yeah. So, so that's what we're talking about. And thank you again. It's like that's what we're talking about as far as culture. It's about culture. That's how important it is, right? Culture can turn somebody's life around, right? And the county said I started getting into natural medicine. Yeah, we even teach natural medicine 1 and natural medicine 2 in our classes as well. Natural medicine 2 is going to be coming up in our next Natural Medicine 2 is going to be coming up in our next semester at the end of January. It's important to self-care before trying to fix tragedy in the whole. It is very important. Yeah, and I see you, Shabbos. Yeah, there are quite a few people that were asking to get on already. Something about my spirit, so they answered that. I'm glad I did. Where am I from? Interesting question. I guess you could say I was born in Maryland, but my family from all over the place. I'm Shwi, I am Yashra'al, I am Cherokee, I'm Taino, I am Olmec, I am many different things. But this is important. This is why culture is important, right? Everything that the brother was just talking about was just simply saying this is the culture that I've decided to go by, right? And it's not about being offensive or trying to say that everybody else is a terrible human being, this and that or whatever. That's not what the conversation is. The conversation is about the fact that it's cultural. A lot of people don't want to talk about that, but it's cultural. It's about your culture. It's about who you are. It's about living who you are. And as I was saying before, if you're not careful, you can go to a place to where you are, if there's no self-control, right? Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faithfulness, meekness, and temperance. Temperance meaning self-control. You can have you can know about love and joy and peace and long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faithfulness, and meekness or humility. But if you have no self-control, there's nothing there for you. You said, LOL, if you in the USA, then we are from lots of places. Of different places. I'm talking about my family is from. So if you're saying I'm not of the. See, once again, it's cultural. First of all, even when you talk about I don't know, if that person wants to listen to me long enough, I don't understand I don't understand the comment. But basically, we're talking about culture. So, for example, even when we talk about culture, once again, if you don't have control, or if you don't have, how does somebody control you? You don't have self-control. We believe in being autonomous. We believe in being kings and queens. We believe in sovereignty. We believe in what the Constitution, even the Constitution of the United States of America implies, even if it doesn't necessarily follow, right? We believe in these things that are supposed to be implied. We believe that your culture determines who you are. We believe that your culture determines who you are, right? So, for example, even culturally speaking, for the person who made the comment, it seems like this is what the comment is meant to. If I'm getting off on it, please let me know. But if we're going to talk about somebody's culture, number one, who is an American? You said if born in America, who is an American by definition? Do you even know? People don't even know. Look up in Black's Law Dictionary. Thanks for being part of the community, Reynolds. Look into Black's Law Dictionary. What is an American? Who is an American? What does it mean to be an American? Before we go to the place of, if you're born here, then you blah, blah, you're from all, no. What is an American by definition? See, if you don't have the definition of self, then you can be controlled. Something happened with the audio again. I don't know what's going on. Facebook now saying the audio is messed up. It took us forever to get on the podcast. IG's tried and true. this rising TikTok, it took me forever just to be able to make sure that the signal wasn't going in and out. I don't know what's going on. Well, we know what's going on, but I'm gonna leave that there. I'm not allowed to say it, or else they're gonna start trying to do even more, right? But okay, Air Conway, all right. So this is we don't comprehend these things at all. We don't think about these things at all. We're not living by these things. Like, what is an American? Thank you, Sister Sonia. What is an American? Like, before you talk to me about you were born in America, so that means what is an American? Exactly, Sister Sharice. America equals copper-colored natives already in America before Columbus. Not even before Columbus, before any European was coming over, because Columbus, as much as we're told this, he wasn't the first one to come over here, as far as even a European. Tiffany says American is people who are free to make choices. No, that's not the definition of an American. I mean, no offense. I know that's what people want it to be, so I get what you're saying. But that's not even the definition of what an American is. The original American is a copper-colored person, right? Black or copper-colored person, I'd say. But if you want to just go off of what the Black's Law Dictionary says, it's a copper-colored person who is indigenous to America. That's what an original American is. Tiffany says, race doesn't matter. We're all Americans if we live in America. No. See, legally, that doesn't even make sense. I'm not trying to say against you. I get what you're saying, that everybody should be able to get with each other. First of all, we don't believe. See, this is how I said, having been led as we believe. Right? Shalom, Betty. How you doing? All right. So this is why I'm saying it's called having been led as we believe. This is a cultural thing. Brother Dennis said, not knowing my own African culture, following the teaching of your African culture is a start. Amen. Thank you. So this is what we believe. Now, you don't have to agree with everything I say, but this is why the series is so having been led as we believe, right? So when you say everybody's equal, number one, you're using terms that don't even make sense, because no two people are equal. If two people were equal, then you would have the same DNA. No two people carry the same DNA. If two people were equal, you would have the same fingerprints. No two people carry the same fingerprints. If you were equal, the law would say that you were equal. But according to law, no two people are equal. Now that's messed up for some people. What do you mean? The law is supposed to be there to protect everybody. Yeah, it protects everybody's rights, but law doesn't give rights. Law protects rights. There's no such thing as two people that are equal. The second that we start trying to treat everybody equal is the second we start having all these issues. That's why people say stuff like, I don't see color, right? You don't see color, but my color means something to me. It doesn't mean I'm better than you, but I love me. Everything about me I love, which means that I love my melanin. I love the brown skin. I love when the light reflects off my skin, right? And if I say I love you as a white person, if you have red hair, I should love the red hair. If you have blue eyes, I should love the blue eyes. Why is it that I should say, oh, I don't care what color your hair is? Well, then I'm saying I dismiss you. So people are trying to change it. Once again, it's a cultural difference. In one culture, to say that we're all equal is different than another culture. I don't want to be equal with it. Matter of fact, the reason why my marriage works so well, the reason why my wife is so amazing, is because that she's not equal to me and I'm not equal to her. Goonie, you said that's not true. What's not true? That we're not equal? You gotta help me out. You're saying that's not true randomly, right? Are you saying that everybody has the same exact DNA? Then somebody hit you with, we all have human DNA. Yeah, but humans have different DNA. That's like saying that all flowers are equal. Not all flowers are equal. Even two roses are different. They might look the same. They might both be red, but they both are different. They both have different amount of pollen, right? they are different, and we should love the differences. Why can we not embrace the differences? Why is it that my differences have to be something that you say you don't see in order to treat me correctly? Why can't you treat me correctly, including my differences? See, that's why we did the Willie Lynch syndrome series recently, because Willie Lynch, he said, we take the differences between people and we make them greater. So people that come from that culture, because watch this, it wasn't just black people that were taught that they were supposed to be on the bottom, but white people were taught out of that system as well. So a white person says, well, the only way, and I don't even like the term white or black, because both of those aren't even legal terms. Like, I love being black, but I'm talking about legally. Legally, That's not even a legal term, right? That you're supposed to use. The second you use that, you're considering yourself a fictitious person, part of that birth certificate piece, right? So you should get out of calling yourself legally white or black or anything else in between. You should just be a natural person. That's just law. People say I'm wrong about that, but look up law, right? That's why everything starts with law. In our culture, we are lawful. We are legal. We don't do things illegal. We're about natural law, kingdom law, marital law, laws of attraction, law of first mention, constitutional law, law of equity, common law, admiralty law, etc. We understand that law protects rights. And so if you don't know what law is, you'll miss things. And law is supposed to protect the rights of all, not say, hey, I'll only pay attention to certain rights you have. And when you say, hey, well, why not love my black skin? And you say, I don't see color. That's not lawful. Right? That's not a right. You're saying the right that I have to be myself is something you don't see. Something's wrong with that. Once again, this is the series that's called Having Been Led as We Believe. So if you believe that you should say you don't see part of who I am, and that therefore makes you better, then that's your culture. That's your system. But in my culture, whatever you carry should be something that I should be able to take on and have a love for. You said, why are we not equal? Once again, my wife and I work well because we're not equal. She's a woman and I'm a man. It doesn't mean that she's worse than me. It means that we are able to work with each other because of our inequality, so to speak. So she can do things that I can't do, and I can do things that she can't do. Matter of fact, let's get outside of woman and man stuff, because some people get messed up over in that. Fine. So how about this? She's really good at finances, and even if I might be good, she's great at finances. So I can give her a little bit of something and she can take it and do a lot of things. She can invest in a lot of things. She can start us into cryptocurrency and things. She's the one that started getting me into stuff to where now I teach cryptocurrency. So it was the stuff that she's a blessing with that I could easily just say, you know what, I'm gonna keep my own money, or I'm gonna do what I want to do, or you know what, I make the money, so I'm gonna make the decisions, blah blah. No, babe, like, you do what you do. I'm gonna put this money in your hand. I know you're gonna take care of the bills. I know you know my heart and what I want and what my desires are. So let me go ahead and do that. We don't have to be equal in that. I don't have to know everything that you do with it, whatever. You don't have to tell me every single person you're having dialogue with. You don't have to tell me every single investment you do, which, by the way, she'll do in her own time anyways, right? But it's the things that we do different that cause us to be able to become one. It's two people becoming one, not two people who have to know everything the other person. No, like, I trust you. Even the trust comes from the fact that we're not equal. Why do I have to trust you? I have to have faith in you. Faith meaning that I don't even necessarily know everything you're talking about, right? I have to have faith in you to be able to believe that you're going to take care of what you're supposed to take care of for us. So I have faith, even though I don't see what you do every day. When I leave and you're sitting at home or taking care of business outside or doing things business wise or whatever, when I leave, I have faith that you'll be faithful to me, right? Like, I can't be everywhere you are. I'm not equal to you. We don't live 100%. It's the things that we have differences in that cause us to actually, that when we started realizing to love the differences, not to get rid of the differences, but to love the differences, then we became greater for each other. But it's cultural. That's why I said it's having been led as we believe. Some people believe that you need to be equal, and that's why you guys have a fight. You don't even know what the other person's supposed to be better than you because you don't think the other person could be better than you in something. You said equal in aspects of being respected for our differences. How do you respect differences equally? You see what I'm saying? I'm not mad at you. I'm just trying to get us to see, right? We've been taught this stuff, but it's cognitive dissonance. It's Dunning-Kruger effect if we're not careful, right? Apologetically, it's unsound. How do I equally respect the difference? Matter of fact, watch this. I have 5 children. I don't know how many children people have. I have 5. Do you think I equally love my children? Some people are going to get messed up by that question, right? Do you think that I equally love my children? Do you think it's responsible of me to equally love my children? Exactly, right? It's something that doesn't translate into English culture, therefore English language. I didn't block anybody, Yannette Muniz, and if you made a joke, what kind of joke was it? But the people who are on here, you might have got muted. If you were blocked, I mean, you wouldn't be able to come back. So I didn't block anybody. We do have moderators though, and thanks for coming back. And if you want to make sure that you are responsible as far as respecting people on here, then sure. But what you might have thought was a joke might have been something in our community, which is we're trying to build something on here and rebuild. We used to have 10,000 plus people on a day. This is Kofi_43. So as you can see, we have people on here to do things or even lie about things on us. And so we have moderators that are very careful about protecting, the community and a place of freedom. So if you feel like you were blocked on here, then, I would say, why did that happen? And even so, like, if you're just respectful of everything, then there shouldn't be any problem with it. So, and thank you very much. But going back to the stuff, let's see. You said something that if you identify as a color, then you were giving up the right of being equal. First of all, I didn't say I identify as a color. I said I have a color. Did I say I identify? I said I have no problem. Okay, if you're saying I have no problem being black all day, so your whole thing is because I said I'm black, that's the only thing I identify as? That's what I'm saying. Think about culturally. First and foremost, having been led as we believe, what is our culture? Our culture says that being black is a great part of it. And by the way, Ethiopian means black. Kush means black. There were people called the slippery blacks. The Carthaginians were black. Like people in Canaan said that they were black. Phoenician people had no problem being called black. And so on and so forth. So, all right, even there are natives, like the Crow people originally are people that were very dark. So they called themselves Crow because crows are what color? Black, right? The people of Khalifa, they had no problem being called black. Look at the original depictions of the Khalifa people. What did they call themselves? And those are Californians. That's where you get the word California from. What were they called? They called themselves black. Look at how the Mayans originally drew themselves and the Incas originally drew themselves. They had no problem. And by the way, all of us, the further back we go into the story of mankind, not his story, but the story, the further back we go into the story, the darker we all become, which means that when we talk about going into blackness, we're talking about going into oneness anyways. But I'm not identifying only as black, but it's something that I have no problem being proud of. Why is it that I shouldn't be proud of a part of who I am? This might just be the temple that houses the spirit that I am, but at the end of the day, I'm still proud of the temple. If you go to a building that you work in or a church that you go to services in or your house that you live in, you know that you're not the house, but you're proud of the outside of the house, aren't you? You're proud of the way the house looks. You're proud to make sure that you have a bed and to have, curtains and to have sheets and to have all these different things that you have. You're proud that your child has a place to be able to lay their head. Why would you not be proud of the housing? It doesn't make sense. You said that I just moved the goalpost and run with it. No, I haven't ran with anything. See, the goalpost, first of all, for me to move the goalpost means that I would have to agree with what you think the goal is. That's why I said it's having been led as we believe. My goal doesn't have to be your goal, and your goal doesn't have to be mine. I'm not here to try and get you to have to agree with my goal. I'm telling you what my goal is. And I'm defining it. Matter of fact, I'm not even defining it. I'm just telling you what it is. It's fine. Now, you're trying to define it, break it down, and then try to redefine it so that you can say I'm moving something. That's your culture. You say that color doesn't matter or this and that or whatever, that's fine. But that's not my standard. You are not my standard. Watch this. As much as you don't believe this, I'm not my standard. I don't get this from self. And I know some people might believe this is something I believed my whole life. I wasn't born and raised in a church. I wasn't born and raised living what I live now. I studied many different things, traveled around the world to be able to come up, not even to come up with it, but to come to something that's a universal truth. My culture is something that I uphold, regardless of who it is. And when I realized that I don't have to live by somebody else's standard, it was freeing. The truth allows me to not have to be by somebody else's standard. Once again, if you don't know self, right, then how can you have self-control? Everybody should have self-control. I believe that other people should live by their culture. If you want to live by your culture, live by your culture. My culture is different than your culture, though, and we should respect the cultures, right? And the culture should never do anything that causes us to have to fight against one another, because that's disrespect of culture, right? So if your culture does something that impedes my culture's progress, I should call it out, and vice versa. Right? So if you're saying that if you're saying that my culture is impeding upon your culture's progress, then so be it. right? If that's what you're dealing with or you're frustrated by, then you have every right to defend your culture, and that's usually what happens. We're having a cultural conversation. You said, why does it matter? Why does my color matter? Because I matter. Everything about me matters. I believe my hair. That's why I don't even pull these down, even though it's actually harder to pull this out than people think. But I don't even try to pull these out or cut this off, because every piece of me matters to me. Every piece of me matters to me. Every piece of me matters to me. I love every piece of myself. And I work diligently. I work hard to ensure that I improve every piece of me. Every piece of me. I work diligently. I work hard to improve every part of me, not just the parts that you even see. But yeah, the parts that you see as well, they matter to me. So my color will always matter to me. Is my color everything about me? Never said that. But it doesn't mean that my color wouldn't matter to me. When you do your hair, does your hair matter? Why does your hair matter? Who cares what your hair looks like? Who cares if your hair is frizzy? Who cares if your hair is messed up? Who cares if your hair is falling out, right? Like, why would you care about your hair? Because it's part of you. This is the biggest organ of my body. Is my skin. Why would I not love my skin? It doesn't even make sense on a physical level. Yeah, my wife is getting more comfortable behind the camera. Yeah, they try to keep putting the page down. We back. Um, it's not only our skin color that matters; it's our culture, right? And culturally, like, what, that doesn't even make sense. Like, why? Like, okay, in Irish culture, which, by the way, I'm very much so friends with many people from the Irish community, right? And I hate to do that, because that's like me saying I got black friends, right? But if you check me out in Ireland, like in Ireland, I got mad respect, right? Like, if it wasn't for, matter of fact, if it wasn't for coronavirus, the first place we were going to go visit overseas was Ireland. Like, that was the first place we were going. They were ready. They were putting up money. They were ready for us to go. People were ready to let us live with them. Like, we were going to go all over Ireland for weeks and just get nothing but their culture. In their culture, a redheaded lass, a redheaded girl is an amazing thing. Why? Because they love the color. It's part of the culture. It's part of the community. It's part of the babies that are raised. It's something that informs them that they are Irish. So why would they not? Why would they just be like, oh, it doesn't matter if you have black hair? Like, it doesn't. They're not saying a person with black hair is worse. But if you got red hair, that's an amazing thing. It's part of the Irish experience. Having white skin, it's an amazing thing. It's part of the Irish experience. And I'm not mad at that. Right? I'm not mad at somebody saying being white is a great thing, up until they say that being white means it's a better thing. Then we got a problem, because now your culture, you're saying, is better than mine. Why can't I live my culture? You said people get caught up in hair, but people still do it. Looks like you took effort. If that's your picture on your profile, looks like you did your hair. And I think it looks fine for you. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not coming against you. I'm just trying to give an example. Like, culturally speaking, we come up with these different concepts and different things. It doesn't mean what people are saying. You said skin, sure. Hair, I've shaved it before. Okay, and when you shaved it, you were putting it in a style, right? You shaved it to accomplish a style, correct? In my culture, we don't shave our head. It's disrespectful. But if you want to shave your head in your culture, feel free to shave your head. I don't. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's your culture. In your culture, it's okay to shave your head. So why not shave your head? In my culture, by the way, in Israelite culture or African culture, wherever you want to go to, there's tribes that say it's okay to shave your head. In my tribe, it's not okay to shave your head. So I don't. So I'm not going to look at another Israelite that shaves their head and say, oh, you're a terrible person because you shave your head. That's not what we're doing. Thank you, unlearn, relearn, right? So that's not what I'm doing here. But once again, the what happens is you become a threat. What happens is you say, I'm going to live my culture. And when you say you're going to live your culture, this is Willie Lynch syndrome. You say you're going to live your culture, and it becomes a threat to good economics. That's what really it goes down to. We're having culture versus culture. I saw you say my great grandma is. I didn't know is what. I'm sorry, I didn't catch. I don't remember what I was talking about. But like I'm not tripping off that. That's why we said first things first. When we talk about what we believe, we got to talk about culture. That's why if somebody says, what version of this should you read or whatever, I say it don't even matter if you don't know the culture. Because somebody will get on here and talk about, well, you talk about slavery all the time and you don't like slavery. Well, your Bible talks about slave. The word slave didn't exist at the time when the Bible was written. They were talking about indentured servitude. And yes, if they talked about killing a slave, what did they talk about killing them for? Did they talk about killing them for stuff like murder? Stealing from a bunch of people and hurting those people as you stole from them? Then yeah, like if somebody does that, I believe that if you murder somebody, then you should be tried today. That's not something that's only to them. And indentured servitude back then was different than what you call slave. And by the way, the word slave doesn't even exist until you start talking about what they did to Slavic people. Why are you trying to take a culture and superimpose something? We didn't do chattel slavery. Matter of fact, the laws, because remember, laws don't give rights, laws protect rights. So anything that's a law protects the right. So if you're dealing with the laws that were given, there were people that came out of Kemet who had enslaved one another, because it wasn't just Israelites that came out. It wasn't just Israelites who were already mixed with Kemet that came out. It wasn't just Israelites and Cushitic people and Kemetic people and people from the land of Goshen and all these people who were already mixed together coming out. There were even the Kemetic people who used to be the slave masters and slave owners that came out. So they wrote laws to say, don't get it twisted. Don't go, just because there's indentured servitude doesn't mean that you can't go back to or doesn't mean you have the right to go back to what you were doing to these people before. That's what the law has to do with, but people don't want to talk about the culture. So here we are having a conversation that with people, and people don't want to be honest about it. They can't be honest about it because we can't talk about what actually happened, what their actual thought process was. I'm sorry, Kofi, you said, what do I think about Kanye and that book? Just wanted, did you seen it? You're wondering if I saw it. I don't even know what you're talking about. If you want to send something to me, or maybe if I have time to look it up, I don't even have a clue as what you're talking about. Kanye and that book, I don't know what book. Sorry. I'm not always the best at pop culture. I got to play catch up a lot. I'm usually, no offense, I'm just saying, usually because of what I do, I'm usually focused on other stuff. So I have no clue what you're talking about right then. The most pop culture I stay up with is stuff dealing with sports, just because I tune into that probably twice a day. Other than that, I don't really know what's going on. So could I speak about the enslavement of Israelites again? You missed that part, Kofi. I was just saying, as far as, and thanks for being on, Ezra, I was just simply making a statement that if you're going to talk about slavery, when people, once again, we're talking about culture, right? Culture establishes everything. So if you're going to talk about slavery, how can one speak about slavery? And they'll say, well, the Bible talks about slavery, how to treat your slaves. That word slave didn't exist when the Bible was originally written. You're taking some English person's or some Greco-Roman idea, or how they treated Slavic people, and you're trying to say that's what they're talking about when they're talking about indentured servitude. They won't tell you the rest of the stuff that's in there as well, as far as the law, which also talks about how, once you hit you can only have a certain amount of years that you're in indentured servitude, that person has to take care of your home, has to take care of your children, and has to teach you business, and has to make sure that you have the right to marry into their family if you want. So you're still treated as a human being. They don't want to talk about these things, right? Thank you, Ezra. Appreciate that. They don't want to talk about those things. So what I'm saying is there's a culture. They don't want to talk about the fact that there's a year of Jubilee, which means that even if you have some kind of contract going on every 50 years, so even if you have some weird, ridiculous thing and people have gone outside the law, every 50 years in the year of Jubilee, everything went back to zero. All the books went back to zero. So it doesn't matter what you were doing as far as taxes, as far as what you owed somebody, as far as how many years of indentured servitude you had left, et cetera, et cetera. Every 50 years, everything went back to zero, which meant that even if you want to call them slaves, they weren't even slaves anymore. Even if that's the term you want to use. Oh, thanks for being back. Amor, we're back. Took us a minute. We still don't have the other page back. That's what we're fighting for. Kofi underscore 401, the original one, Kofi underscore 42. We're looking at doing some stuff, doing some legal stuff. And by the way, as we grow, we might ask for some of you guys' help to just, maybe every once in a while, we might do once a month or something. If y'all can just help us and flood some emails and stuff and say, hey, what's going on? But we're looking at possibly taking legal action, just because, not for us, but we're tired of seeing a lot of people be shadow banned over foolishness when they're just telling truth. And I don't even care if it's people who are telling lies or whatever, I don't believe that people should be lied on. And they said that we were using the lives to drug deal and using the lives to do all types of weird stuff, and that we were racist. Because we would dare say stuff like we don't believe, that we believe that all people should come together and that we should reverse the thought process of white is better than black or black this and that or whatever. But all of us should just become darker in our mentality, because the further back we go historically, geographically, as far as paleontology, as far as theology, whatever, we all go back to the same place. Why not just go back to the same place? But glad to have you back on. Thank you. You said servitude in America separate is separated from what Africans did. Yeah, very much so. Very much so. My wife said servitude is a 9 to 5. Chattel slavery is not was different. Yeah, exactly. Chattel slavery still exists. And indentured servitude is something that you sign up for. You can always sign up for something. You can do that UCC 1-03. Or I'm sorry, did I say it right? 1-308. Sorry. UCC 1. I've been studying a lot of different stuff. UCC 1-308. You can study that all day, every day. It used to be UCC 1-207. Right? You don't have to give up your rights. You can make sure that you're a citizen of the United States of America instead of a citizen of the United States. You can make sure that you have that instead of a W2, W4, W9, 1099, all that stuff. You can make sure that you do I'm sorry, what is that? A W-8-BEN, where you don't have to be taxed and stuff like that. If you're coming on here and that's your first opinion already, you're somebody that doesn't pay attention to us. You saw a black person on here speaking, and because I'm dressed like I am, you said that, why am I angry? There's nothing angry about me whatsoever. You got to get that together. See, that's the type of stuff whoever was on earlier saying that I just blocked them because they made a joke. Like, that's the type of stuff somebody comes on here and says where, we have to let that person go. Like, we can't have that person on here because they can't even have a conversation. They can't even have a conversation. Like, if you can't even listen because your first response is that a black person would dare speak. That's why I said that I have to protect. See, this person saying, somebody on here talking about earlier, why do you think color matters? I didn't say that color mattered. That person saw me as a color speaking and didn't even listen to what the person who has a color said. That's who made color matter. I didn't have to make color matter. You see that? That's the difference. Rogelio said, so are you implying that a person's culture, to count it, has to be or go back to our ancestors? No. What I am telling you is that your culture came from somebody, so your culture came from a culture. You learn. You live in a culture, whether you like it or not. You live in a culture. Your belief system is informed by the culture that you live in. There's no such thing. Watch this. There's no individual without a society. There's no society without an individual. So if you're going to talk about an individual culture, you have to talk about the society that culture came out of, because there's no culture that just is. Unless you want to talk about even when we speak about the kingdom of heaven, but even that culture technically comes from someone. And that someone is within what he speaks, and what he speaks is within him. So even in that, you have to talk about it. Still, there's no individual that comes without a society. Therefore, there's no individual culture that comes without a societal culture that it comes from. The society has to be informed by somebody. The culture, the individual has to be informed by somebody. You learned how to speak from somebody. You learned how to think. Believe this or not, you learned how to think from somebody. You might have had to relearn how to think, but even when you relearned how to think, guess what you had to do? You had to say to yourself, what am I going to read, or what even informed me? Something informed you that you need to rethink how you think. Somebody said, never go to the past. Forget it. Yeah, I hope people aren't never going to the past. If you never go to the past, you can't speak anymore. If you never go to the past, you don't even know how to wipe yourself. If you never go to the past, you don't know how to make money anymore. I don't understand. That's a weird place when people do that, for sure. You said, remember, he can be found on all platforms. Hashtag FindKofi. Thank you, Sister Tracy. Kofi, what's good? Oh, hey, I'm back. Yeah, I'm doing well. How you doing? Tiffany, thanks you, Minister Tamara, for putting that information out. Tiffany says, sometimes the past needs to stay in the past. It's time to show our children a bright new future. Okay, what's the future based on? Just a quick question for you, Tiffany. Hopefully you see by now I'm not mad at you, angry with you. We're having a conversation, right? What is the future based off of? First impression of cultural concept. Amen. What is the future based off of? Sister Tiffany, Miss Tiffany, what is the future based off of? Love and no more race hate. Okay. All right. So question. Just question. This is reality, right? Is everybody going to do what you're going to do? Right? Exactly. Identity and history. But it goes to a place of race. Even the word race, by the way, it just means competition. Now, competition became based off of color, but race means competition. And so everybody's not going to do what you do, probably not. So it would be nice. Look, I wish it could be a utopian thing. If it was if utopia was something that actually existed, we could do that. Problem with that is, though, is that we don't exist in this utopian society that we would like to exist. It doesn't exist, right? So since we don't live in a utopian society, this is what I have to do with my children. I have to teach, for example, I have to teach my children when they go to school. I don't know if this is your experience or not. This is what I have to do. I have to teach my children. I have to say to them, you know that there's 46 presidents, right? I have to teach them that. So they say, yeah, Joe Biden, he's number 46. I say, cool. Now, you also know that there's 53 presidents. And I have to say, yeah, Dad. You know why they have to do that? Because when we go into this bright new future that you're talking about, people aren't going to tell them that George Washington's not the first president. Let's take what we're calling race out of it, right? People are going to lie to them. They're not even going to tell the truth that there were presidents before George Washington. They're going to tell you to just forget about the past and only think about the bright new future. But I have to make sure my children understand that all presidents set precedent. Okay? So if all presidents set precedent, that means I have to teach my children that the first 4 out of 5 presidents were all Virginia slave owners. And I've even gone to where these slave owners places are, at least some of them. Right, going to try and make sure. I haven't even been to George Washington's place. I've been around it, in it, studied it, or or there, but I've never gone inside the walls. Right, but I have to teach them that, because even though we're talking about a bright new future that's free of all this stuff, the reality of the matter is that even though that's what we would love to do, it's not a utopian society. This is not based off of utopia. Here's the reality. Here's the reality that we might be thinking about this, but my children, even if you don't think your children are. My children, if I just go back to their great-grandparents couldn't even walk on the street or on the sidewalk when a white person was walking down the street. And so if they meet or talk to their great-grandparent or somebody affected by their great-grandparent, they're still dealing with stuff that their great-grandparent, therefore their grandparent, therefore their parent, therefore them is still trying to get over. So when I have conversations, right, if I talk about disciplining my children, I have to make sure I don't talk about whipping my children, because we were whipped. Because we go back to generations to where you whip them because you love them. Where does that come from? You whip them because you love them, because the overseer was going to whip you and try to beat the brakes off you, right? And have your skin coming off and all that stuff. So they would say sometimes that a slave could whip their own child, and that way you would show love to your child. Even though we're saying that we want a brand new future without hate, I would love for that to happen too. But I'm not going to act like we are not still dealing with the effects of something, or that people have given us the opportunity to deal with it. See, even what happens today, not saying you, I'm saying in general, what happens today is people say, get over it, you leave the past behind, this doesn't matter anymore. The reality is that my people have never had a chance to sit down and to deal with PTSD. We're still doing stuff out of PTSD. People still whip their children because you used to whip your children because you left them back then. Now, I don't mind disciplining your child, but whipping them is different. But why do we say it's whipping? Why do we, like black people grow up and love to compare stories of whose parents whipped them better and how you survived the whippings? Because that was something you did back then. Child, I thought I was going to die when Master was whipping me, but I made it through. Praise Jesus, I did. That's a culture that's not really ours, but we have put on us, and we took on that persona. And so we need to break from that. We can't look somebody else equally in the eye. I can't look another race in the eye, and that's what I think of myself. There's still people who are older than me and my age and younger than me even who have problems looking white people in the eye. I know you might not think that, but that's real. There are black people that I know that if a white person is walking down the street and tries to look them in the eye, they will do this because it's still in our psyche. So I understand what you're saying, but this system of what we call the United States, it's not even based. Now here's the thing, the kicker. Culturally speaking, when you get into the United States culture, they don't really care about black or white. They care about slaves. They use black or white to get us so much into fighting each other that we continue to be enslaved by them. You said that's a cultural problem, not actually racism. No, racism would be a system based off of a race. And what did that race came from? It came from a culture in which people were trying to outdo each other for land, for property. They were enslaving each other. Then they started enslaving Indians. They started enslaving Irish people. And then they started enslaving natives. And then they started enslaving Africans because they realized people that were native, indigenous to Turtle Island, and that were black, they were able to do work in the sun that other people couldn't do. Therefore, they enslaved them. So that became a cultural thing. That's why the system of racism is something that comes from a culture. So yes, that's our culture's problem, but it's also based off of something that somebody put on us. You missed that part. Didn't somebody put something on us? You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to be. I'm not saying that I blame. This is what the brother was just talking about when he was on earlier. The brother that's going to fix the car that I'm going to get in contact with. Like that's what we were talking about earlier. He's trying. Basically when it comes to what he's talking about and what we're talking about in that issue, he's trying to make sure that he lives a life based off of culture first, to where we can look somebody eye to eye. Because we've been taught through a system of racism by other people who instituted a culture, which, by the way, even the term white, if you want to go there, the term white doesn't mean color of skin, because there's no person that's truly white unless you're a true albino. Even people who have some albinoism, they are not all the way albino, right? A true albino is completely white. There are actually people out there you can look up, people, and a lot of them are black people. A lot of them, you can have the darkest man that ever exists, and the whitest man, so to speak, the man without any pigmentation, the darkest and the lightest person to ever exist, both come from the same place in Africa. So white and black is not even talking about, but what you consider white, but the color white is not what you think it is. A lot of people think like these pages are white. The color white didn't even used to be a color. It just used to mean clear. It used to mean clear or bright. Too bright to see sometimes, or too clear to be able to see. So if you're talking about a real white person, it's an invisible person. It's somebody who you don't even know they exist. You've never seen their name in these Fortune 500 things and all that, but they control everything. That's a real white person who has people believing that they're actually white, or they think that they're white, has them believing that they're not slaves either. Once again, though, it's culture. Yeah, we need a break from that mentality. Thank you, Dark Fox. Happy to be back. Yeah, talking about war doesn't mean that we make it exist. Exactly, man. Talking about food doesn't mean we make it exist. Exactly. Right. So people who are sitting this stuff talking about, oh, you dare talk about color? Yeah, I talk about color. If I describe this wall as blue, if I describe that ceiling as we would call it white, even though I would say it's light color, but cream color, light cream color, but somebody would say it's white, right? So okay, fine. We're talking about that color, right? But it doesn't mean that I hate. I think that the wall is better than the ceiling. No, it just means it's a different color. I like the ceiling. I'm happy I have a ceiling. I like the wall. I'm happy I have a wall. It doesn't mean that just because I say there's a color attached that it's bad or it's good. That's somebody else's culture. That's not mine. And I don't have to accept it, even if people try to tell me that that's what I mean. See, Joshua says, but see, it's mindsets like that will continue to enslave y'all selves mentally. Okay. I mean, people make that weird assumption, right? Like, I'm sovereign. I'm free. I don't work a 9 to 5. I'm free, and we're working on owning land so that we can live with like-minded people, having our own food, our own government, our own common law. Like, these are things that you can do. Matter of fact, the Amish and other people that we like to say are doing it well and stuff like that. We can do the same thing, right? Like, I don't understand. And then people try to say, well, you're talking about segregation. No, I'm not. Like, we can still do business with people. You can still go visit wherever. People don't even have to live on the land. We're just asking that they donate to stuff. But if they want to live there, you got a spot you can live at, especially if times get hard. Why not come over there? Why not go there, live in a place where you don't have to have any rent or whatever, save up your money, and then go own property, rent that property out while you still living there and get another property and keep getting stuff to where you cause generational wealth. Like, that's our culture. That's our culture. Nate says, all I hear is excuses to be able to blame bad behavior on someone else. Stop feeding the hatred. But Nate, if you're still on, that's foolishness. Nate, that's foolishness. Because I don't need anything from you. I don't want anything from you but your mindset. And I don't want any of my people to have that mindset that says that we're looking for a handout. That's the worst thing we can do. That's why you keep voting for people and stuff. You voting for all these people because you think that they're going to change something. Stop worrying about the people you voting for and get stuff done on your own. We can do all things through Christ, yeah, including making sure that we consider the cost. Christ said, don't build any tower without first considering the cost. What's the cost of not being able to own your own stuff? Christ gave the example of the man at 5 talents. That's 1,000 pounds of gold. Another person had 2 talents. That's 400 pounds. Another person had 1 talent. That was 1. The person with 1 talent buried 200 pounds of gold and had to worry about it, just looking over it and hoping nobody be able to steal it. The person with 400 made it 800. The person with 1,000 made it a ton. They did some things. And they did some things within what they were taught culturally to be able to get there. And when the master came back, he said, man, the master is the teacher, right? So when the teacher came back, he said, man, you did well with what I gave you. You know what? You were faithful over a few things, which was 1,000. That's a lot of talent. That's a lot of gold. That's a lot of stuff we already have, right? Hip hop, number 1. Some people say number 2. Either way, one of the top outsourcers, or the top outsource as far as export, that makes America money. Did you know that hip hop music is basically making America more money than anything else that they sell outside of the country? And they sell oil, right? That's you. That's something that you have, right? Where's the money that comes from it for your community? Why don't you have gas stations that are owned by you in your community? You hear what I'm saying? Free brother, free brother. All right, Judy. 3 says life. They don't call it. They don't call it life. They don't call it us Edomites either. I don't understand what that even means. Are you saying Edomites? Because I didn't call anybody Edomite. I guess your assumption is that I'm calling people Edomites, or are you saying that Edomites are evil? I don't know. I don't go by that stuff. Or saying that what people think are Edomites. Let's see. But not one of the blacks. Not. I'm sorry, but not on the backs of slaves. I don't understand. I don't remember what I was talking about back then. You had to make that, you had to redo that. I don't understand what that's talking about. So these trolls shifted the conversation. Well, they're trying to shift it from culture, which once again, this is why people don't like it. We're always coming back. And that's why, once again, the whole thing of this, these live sessions for a while are going to be called Having Been Led as We Believe. I'm not going to say I could care less what somebody else believes, because that's not a righteous mentality. However, my goal is not to worry about if you have to agree with my belief. Like, a lot of people believe that you have to agree with my cultural belief in order for my culture to make sense. That's not truth at all. Amen, Minister Nice. Yeah, culture talks about culture make people uncomfortable. 3 says from long time ago there was called a sea that it got romantic. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not catching what you're saying. Shabbos said, check out Kush Day. Oh, I check out Kush Day all day, every day. Yeah, definitely. But even when we talk about color or whatever, and he's talking about a lot of stuff that makes sense as far as, once again, lawfully. So like I said, when it comes to lawfully, legally, there's certain things I never even worry about. Like, I'm Cherokee, but I never put that down on paper. You get control when you put that stuff down on paper. I'm black, but I never put it down on paper. I'm a natural man. The natural man has more rights than the black man. The black man, according to constitutional law, right, the black man is considered to be a fiction. Just like the white man is not considered to be a real person either. People don't know, though. You said the 1% rule over all races and keep us fighting, protecting their way of life. Amen, babe. Hello, welcome Detroit in the house. See, people fail to realize racism still exists today because it's a system. Racism doesn't mean that you're a racist. You don't have to be a racist to live in racism, right? Like a black person lives in racism. It doesn't mean that the black person's a racist. So a white person can live in racism. It doesn't mean that you're a racist. Yeah. Let's see. GA, okay, George in the house. How you guys doing? I'm trying to catch up on all these comments. Keep them coming. It's been a little while. They took us off TikTok a while ago, so we're trying our best to catch up. It's been a little while since I'm used to going through all these platforms back and forth. Amen. That's right. We're changing lives one mind at a time, and that's a great thing. Some people don't want your culture to exist. That's a great point, rather. Bam says, Grand Rising, Texas here. Where am I from? All over. even in moving and living in a bunch of different places, if you're talking about where I'm born, you could say in the United States, I guess. United States, actually United States, and then had to get out of that to begin the United States of America again, if you know what I'm saying. Racism should have never been, and we can change the mentality of it. You can't change the mentality of racism. Racism's a system. If you change your mentality, you want to come out of racism. Racism is a system. You can come out of her, but you can't. You're not going to change. That's like when people try to change somebody's mind. You get in a relationship, they'll change. I'll change their mind. I'll change how they think. You can't change how somebody thinks. They got free will, right? So they have free will. They have a right to think however they want to think. I'm not here to try and change somebody's right to think how they want to think. I'm just trying to say, hey, in your thought process, maybe you want to interject a little bit of this, and if not, that's fine. Once again, what's the name of this series? Having been led as we believe. Not everybody gonna agree, and I'm not worried about everybody agreeing. All right, thank you, Rogelio. Appreciate it. Is it my? I don't know if I'm saying this right. Is it Myri? Mire? I'm not sure. Please forgive me. It says I agree with you up to a certain point when you say we're not looking for a handout. Okay. Yeah, and I'm not looking for handouts. I believe that everybody should be sovereign. Matter of fact, Teddy Roosevelt said that if people understood what sovereignty was and they were willing to have self-accountability, he said that there would really be no need for government. But since a lot of people aren't going to be accountable for self and are going to do things to harm others, there has to be a government to take care of it. That's why you have public and you have private. A lot of people don't even know the difference between the two. But you have public law, you have private law. Right? You got things that are supposed to allow you to remain private. You have things that are supposed to allow others to remain public. And if you won't do those things, then you're going to have a lot of issues going on, right? You have public, you have private. And as a private citizen, as a king, as a sovereign, as a queen, etc., you have to be able to take care of certain things. If you can't feed yourself, then the government needs to be there to make sure they can feed you. That's the only reason why you got stores. If you knew how to grow your own food, what would be the need for stores? What would be the need for private corporations like Monsanto and others to even change your food up? Why would there even be any need for medicine if you knew how to grow stuff that you could just go out and eat? Betty said, when you hear truth and know it is truth, it resonates. That's what you do. Yeah. Joshua said, is it bad to want to rebuild America and it hypnotizes people to fall intellectually? Is it bad? Is it bad to want to rebuild America when America hypnotizes people to fall intellectually? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. I'm sorry. Racism has died tremendously. Has it? See, this is something I just want to see, like, and once again, this goes back to the whole thing of, like, color doesn't matter, or this and that, or whatever. Like, I don't see it. Just because it's not seen by people. Like, watch this. You don't see atoms. Does it mean that atoms aren't systemically there? Thanks, babe. Appreciate that. And thank you for helping us with these conversations as well. Right? Just because you don't see atoms doesn't mean that they aren't there as a system. But even with that, remember, like, people say racism's gone and dead, it doesn't exist, right? Well, don't forget, in Georgia, right? I'm somewhere close to where they were talking about, or at least I was the other day. Where they found all those people in Mexico, or all those Mexicans that were slaves, that were being raped, and they were having children from being raped, and they were having to pick stuff in the field, and they were being paid pennies, and they were working with guns up to their heads. That just happened this month, 2021. You know, people don't want to talk about chattel slavery. When you go to McDonald's, when you go to Burger King, when you go to Chick-fil-A, when you go to these places today and they're wearing their uniforms, somebody who was a slave in prison made that uniform that you're gonna see. When you go on that airplane ride today, or whenever you're going on it for the holidays, when you go on that airplane ride, understand that the seats and stuff you're sitting on, a slave made that. Chattel slavery is alive and well. Racism is alive and well. It's a system. People don't like to talk about the system because they believe that when you say something about the system, depending on what your culture is, or depending on who came before you, because people know what they're connected to and sometimes even what they're benefiting from, they believe that their assumption is that for you to talk about racism, it means that you're saying that they created racism. I'm not old enough to have created racism, and neither is anybody listening to me right now. It doesn't mean that we're not living in something that wasn't created. Matter of fact, why is it that if you're born in the United States, like, here's a question for you. This is cultural. This is why culture has to be there for our culture. For our culture, right? We're going to have to go deeper into our culture. We're going to have to do more in this tomorrow because this is taking a turn, but at first, I think we did a lot of what we need to do as far as scripturally, and we're still dealing with kingdom mentality, right? But people can't even get past racism because racism is attached to a culture. See, we can't even talk about this word. Like, we were supposed to be talking about this. And we can't even get to this because people are so busy talking about, they can't even come out of the fact is racism actually a thing. Right? Like, watch this. Can we at least, watch this. Can we at least agree that racism is demonic? Can we at least say that racism causes people to go through hell? Can you see why we need to look at it and stop ignoring it? Because people are going through experiences. Can we stop ignoring what people go through? Just like we ignore the color of their skin because it makes us uncomfortable. And can we come to a place of saying that we need to tear this down? If you want true unity, you got to at least deal with what's going on and not Satan is having his way. The kingdom of heaven suffers violence and the violent take it by force because people can't be honest, right? If you can't have an honest conversation about is racism real, right? If we're just going to say, I'm going to ignore it and it's going to go away, then that's why these babies, like the book that's coming out, does it really matter that Jesus was black? That book had to be written. You know why that book was written? Why I wrote that book? It wasn't because people are concerned. I felt it was a concern that I need all the books I've ever written. It's not because I feel like they need. It's because there was a need that was there in the community. It was little babies that were coming to me, baby boys and baby girls that were coming to me and were saying, like, little, and I'll say babies, 9-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 21-year-olds coming to me and saying, hey, nobody will talk about race in church and we getting our teeth kicked in out here by cops. Like, nobody wants to talk about the fact that there are iconoclasts that took Yashra'al and turned him into Jesus, and nobody wants to be honest about that. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that when the Bible was originally written, there wasn't even the letter J. Like, why won't anybody talk to us about this stuff? That's why I had to write the book. Because I was dealing with children. This is the people that we keep talking about, the next generation. They're wondering why we keep dropping the ball and not telling them the truth about themselves. Right? Because we can't deal with something as simple as the culture of something. Racism comes out of a culture that none of us should have taken on. White people shouldn't have taken it on because they had to be taught that that was real too. They had to be taught. If you look at Willie Lynch syndrome, he said you got to teach white people, and if you're he said never miss an opportunity to teach your wife and your children and your overseers and the people that work underneath you. Never miss an opportunity to teach them about racism. That's what he said. So white people had to be taught about racism too. And yet we won't have that conversation that all of us got duped. We won't have a conversation that people look bad at Trump. And I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm just telling you what is. We look at Trump as he's this terrible human being. And we never want to have honest conversation about the fact that, you know what, Trump said some racist stuff and Biden said some racist stuff. We don't want to talk about the fact that Obama didn't do anything for his community but did something for everybody else, right? And that Bush turned around and talked about No Child Left Behind. We left a lot of children behind. And we don't want to talk about Clinton got elected as president because he killed a black man who was mentally retarded. to show people that he was serious about crime and labeled us with the help of his wife super predators. And we don't want to talk about that Bush before him was connected to Reagan before him, and both of them who started Reaganomics did so by flooding the streets with crack in black neighborhoods to make sure that they could pay for our illegal war. And we don't want to keep going back and forth to Ford and to Nixon and to all these people that came before doing the same type of stuff to all of us. They had to dupe everybody, but we can't be honest about this stuff, and therefore we still stuck in the same position. That's why the babies are coming to me. Some dude that they barely know and won't talk to their parents about it because their parents ignore it. Our parents ignored it. They just said, you know what? Don't worry about it. Don't make any excuses. No excuses for you not being there, whatever. Fine. I made it there, but I still talked about it. I can make it and talk about it. Why are you saying that I couldn't have talked about these things and made sure my children are aware of these things and still make it at the same time? Because he was taught that if you talk about it, then it's a bad thing. It means you're racist. You're a reverse racist. Don't let them label you that, son. Make sure you cut your hair, get that corporate gig. Make sure you do what you're supposed to. Make sure everybody looks up to you. Right? Or doesn't look up to you, but they don't look down too much on you. Just keep your head down and do what you got to do. I know racism exists. My father will tell you racism doesn't exist, and they will tell you about how he, as somebody who's for 4 decades, has been somebody who's been supervising people at the Library of Congress, and will have some dude there who will stop him and act like he gonna arrest him because he doesn't like the fact that a black man gets to go through a door and then come to find out, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know you work here. He's been there for 4 decades. You ain't nobody compared to him. You just security. You supposed to secure him. No, my father, who's sitting up there making sure that some of the stuff is keeping records of some of the things that you guys want to be kept records of for American citizens, and nobody will talk about if he knows in his mind he's not supposed to talk about his racism that he's affected by, because if he's affected by it, then guess what? Then it means that somebody will say he's trying to be a reverse racist. Yeah, racism can be in your heart, not your skin. That's why I said the skin color is not what I'm focused on. But there is a system that says you should focus on the skin color. But at the same time, just because I'm not focused on it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I love this. It's part of me. And if you can't love this, if you say you can't see it, you don't see me. You said you don't agree racism is dying? Okay. And I'm sorry. I know I'm way behind on these comments. You guys are giving some great comments. I apologize. So many of them flooding through. I'm trying to catch up. I'm probably not going to be able to catch all of them. I'm only human being, so please forgive me. Shalom, Cynthia. How you doing? You said if you try to change the world, your life will fall apart. If you try to change your life, the world will be better. Boom. Right. By the way, the word world, even when people talk about biblically, this is our culture, right? When you talk about the word world means cosmos, K-O-S-M-O-S. It means it's a system. So when it says be ye in the world, but not of it, hey, I got to deal with the system. However, I'm not supposed to be of it. So I ain't trying to change the system. I need to deal within the system and learn the language of the system. However, at the end of the day, I don't live of that. Bevy said, let's not talk racism because it makes others uncomfortable. So what? It needs to be addressed, right? It's like, hey, let's not talk about rape. It makes people uncomfortable. That doesn't make sense. Thank you, best of both oracles. My wife says all people saying racism exists because talking Trayvon Martin wanted Skittles got death. Yep. As a matter of fact, the person who killed him gets to have people sign Skittles, and he makes money off of that. Or he signs Skittles, and then he makes money off of that, right? Nobody wants to talk about it though, because hey, we killed Trayvon, right? Said shine the light and the youth to see. Yeah, and that's the reason why. Like, so we do it even for the youth. People talking about you want your youth to have a better future. Tell your youth the truth, and tell your youth what happened, and tell your youth how foolish it was, and make sure that they understand that we're not going to continue the foolishness. And you know why we don't want to tell the youth the truth though? If we want to keep it 100, let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 1,000. Why don't we tell the youth the truth? Because that means that the youth might have to. I've had to do this with my own parents and grandparents. Stuff. You might have to look back and say, "Man, y'all dropped the ball." And grandmama can't look like she dropped the ball, can she? Daddy can't look like he dropped the ball. If your last name is Jackson and Grandpa Jackson was out here hanging slaves, you can't say that. That's why. That's the reason why. Because you should have no problem just saying this is a fact. Why is it that we say we shouldn't say anything from the past? That's not true. Then don't have them say the Pledge of Allegiance. That's from the past. You don't believe that we shouldn't say anything from the past. It's just the stuff that you're comfortable with from the past. Thanks for liking the show, Irene. Yeah, work for them, not yourself. Exactly, that's what they want us to do. And we did drop the ball. We need accountability. Otto said slavery isn't just physical anymore, and it isn't forced anymore, but it's a choice to some degree because we don't know what the truth is ourselves. Yeah. So we can choose to come out of it. I believe we can choose to come out of it, but coming out of it means you have to believe there's something to come out of. So the whole system needs to be torn apart. Most definitely. And hey, how you doing? I don't know how to say your new name yet. Is it Lil Nutsy Dennis Destiny? But thanks for being on. Dustin said we need to give Elohim the glory, but we worried about everything else. Does Elohim like slavery? Does Elohim like racism? Does he believe it brings glory to his name to ignore sin? Or should we make sure that we crucify the flesh daily? You know, that's cognitive dissonance. But we are worried about, maybe we're too worried about it. I agree. But at the same time, to discuss it doesn't mean that we don't believe in this. Matter of fact, what was the woman at the well that had the conversation with Yashra'al Mashiach, or who you would call Jesus probably? What is it that what was their conversation about? Did it involve race? Now ultimately it was to get her to get past race to be able to talk about the kingdom, but wasn't it about race? The woman at the well, he sent his disciples away because he knew that they were going to be they don't deal with people that are dogs, half-breeds, racism. And then he talked to her. She said, what in the world are you doing talking to me? You're a Hebrew. You're not supposed to talk to us. We don't talk to you. And he said, if you knew who I really was, if you got past just only looking at the color of my skin, and you got to know the whole me, you would have asked me for water, and I would have given you water that would have made sure you would have never been thirsty again. She said, well, what makes you greater than our Father who made this well? And he had to remind her that your father, who has the same, that we both carry his DNA and have his skin color, right? Because they were doing colorism too. So we both carry the DNA, but he was like, at the end of the day, I'm the one that made the DNA. And when she finally realized who he was, then she was able to preach the kingdom and not thirst for the kingdom ever again. So you got to talk about it. He had to talk about it, but we don't want to be honest. Like the Bible talks about this stuff because they were dealing with it back then. Even when it wasn't as simple as black, white, people were still trying to find differences and make them bigger. Precious says racism is a distraction. Look for hate and it will find you. Seek love instead. Okay, so seek love instead. Yep. So somebody puts a noose around your neck and is hanging you, and start talking about loving them and see if they'll release the noose because you've spoken love enough. That'll work. Amen. I'm so blessed to have come across your channel. Bless you. You're a breath of fresh air. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you. Thank you, Royal Blood, for being part of the community. Thanks for the agreement, is it Melinda? Thanks for being on. Yeah, we got to keep talking. Thank you. Destiny. Crashing Light says the equivalent to buying your freedom in 2021 is paying off your portion of the national debt or just discharging it. You ain't got to pay off nothing. You could pay it off, but why not just discharge the debt? Everyone is traumatized by racism, some more than others. Yep, and white people were slaves before your race. First of all, if you're talking about slavery, that word slave, you're talking about chattel slavery. So white people weren't doing chattel slavery to each other before they did it to black people, number one. Number two, that word slavery didn't really exist, but let's just use the word you're using. That's a wild place to go because how are white people enslaved by black people or enslaving each other first when before there was a such thing as a white person, slavery existed, which meant that there was actually slavery done to black people, even if it was done by black people to black people. So I don't even have a problem admitting that. But the places that you're going are, no, slavery, white people were enslaved first. Stop. And even if that's the case, even if that is the case, that's like being like, okay, white people were enslaved first, so we just enslave everybody else. That it doesn't matter. Both of them are wrong. If Kemet enslaved Israel, then that means that Kemet was wrong. If Israel enslaved Israel, that means Israel was wrong. If Shaka Zulu messed around and killed other tribes completely off because they wouldn't bow down to the Zulu way, he was wrong. If Idi Amin killed somebody, he was wrong. If George Washington married his wife because she had just as many slaves as he did, and therefore it made him a better slave owner, so he loved her because of it, he was wrong. I don't care who you want to go to. At the end of the day, they are wrong. Papa Doc, he did what he did to his own Haitian people. He was wrong. Period. Like, we got to do that. Say God condones slavery. Once again, we already talked about that. You're late to the party. First of all, I don't believe in God. I believe in Elohim. Secondly, the term slavery didn't even exist. They put slavery in the Bible when they changed it. That's called the slavery Bible, the slave Bible. There was no such thing as slave in the Bible back then. All right, so you got to check that. It's talking about indentured servitude, and indentured servitude ends. And if it's indentured servant, just like anybody else did something that was wrong, then they could be punished for it, right? But that's the same thing as anybody else. But it also talks about how they were supposed to treat their indentured servants correct. That's why Thomas Jefferson used to rip pages out of the slave Bible. See, this is, you got to make sure you got the context correct, because he didn't like the fact that it talked about how to treat indentured servants correctly, but in his Bible it didn't say indentured servants, it said slaves, and it made him sicken. It sickened him, and he would rip pages out. Go to Monticello when you have a chance and look at the Bibles for yourself. I've done so. My family has done so. It's not that hard to be able to look up. So we're talking about different culture. Culturally speaking, we're talking about a different thing. So if somebody's going to attack it, once again, we attack your culture. You're not talking about my culture. I don't have to accept your standard for my culture. Right? I don't have to accept your standard for my culture. Yeah, there's a difference. Thank you. There's a difference between involuntary servitude and slavery. You said, how do you discharge debt? First, you become a citizen of the United States of America. And then after you do that, you make sure that you discharge the debt. You can discharge it. You can discharge it. You can just simply write a letter and say that I don't have any contract with your system anymore. I'm done with it. Thank you very much for continuing to contact me, but I don't have to pay debt that's not mine. Well, your birth certificate says that it has $6 million per birth certificate, right? We have classes on this stuff, so I can't answer all that. We literally do whole classes on this for months. Hey, shalom to you. Said, which day is the true day of worship? Well, we do Shabbat. I think you already know that, more than likely. We do Shabbat. I do 6 to 6, 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. So Friday to Saturday, some people do 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., but we do Shabbat. And we all need healing, yeah, which means that we got to get rid of a system that doesn't allow for healing. Trust and peace, love, one earth, one humanity. Yep, I do. So that means any system that's not like it needs to be uprooted. It needs to be pulled up from the roots. That includes slavery. Or that includes chattel slavery, that includes 13th Amendment citizenship, 14th Amendment citizenship, all that needs to be pulled up by the roots so that we can all be free. You said we can't help what other people do, just what we do. True that, but we can defend ourselves from when people try to do things against us for sure. You said exactly. Truth hurt, especially when you're looking in the mirror. Very much so. Accountability, amen. Eric said the truth needs to be told, period. It's way past time, yeah. And by the way, if you tell the truth might make you mad, it might make you angry, it might make you sad. But you know what happens after a while? When you're governed by truth, you get over it and you keep on pushing and you start doing better. Right? Like if it really is going to be a funeral. This is what's going to happen. You believe in certain things. You believe in certain things about your culture, certain things people taught you about your culture, etc. Certain things taught you about this word, all this, right? You believe in Genesis versus Bereshit. You believe in Exodus instead of Shemot. You believe in Matthew instead of Matat Yechav. You believe in John instead of Yochanan. You believe in Jesus instead of Yashra'al. You believe all this stuff. You believe in Revelation instead of Chazon. You've been taught a whole bunch of fibs about a lot of different things, racism included. And so when somebody does something to you, it's going to hurt. It's going to be a funeral that you have to have take place. And I'll be the person to be over the funeral for you to help you to get past it if you want. But there's going to be a funeral that's going to take place. Right? There's going to be a funeral that's going to take place. And when that funeral takes place, what you base your whole life off of is going to die. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, just like when you lost that loved one. Matter of fact, more so than when you lost a loved one, because your life is still being lived, but you don't know what to do because you've been living, off of this false, perverted version of what is around. So it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, but you're going to make it. It hurt me. See, people look at me now. Like people don't know this about me. I was gung-ho, George Bush all the way. 17 years old, I joined the military, 2000. I served. I know I don't look like it anymore, but I served. Right? I get my little discounts and stuff like that because I served. And when somebody dies for this country, I still shed a tear because those are my brothers in combat. Even if I don't like what they represent, I know that if you believe in what you believe in enough to try and die for it, I respect it. Right? Papa salute, not the fake one, not the little ones that the people be doing. Boom. I give you the full salute I would have given you if I was on gate guard duty or something like that. I give you all that. Right? But it doesn't mean that I can't be real about the fact that you representing some stuff that's foolish. Dashima said, anyone who believes slavery is okay, volunteer to be one, and then let me know if I was working for you, right? He said, poor white people were wearing rags, sleeping on dirt floors. Yeah, they got to come out of the system of oppression. Racism gets a poor white person to believe that they need to work hard for some white man because both of them are equal, and when that white man who's rich doesn't care about the poor white man. That's racism too. It's the same system. It's the same system. It's classism mixed in there, but classism and racism, they twins. That's why people get them mixed up all the time. They think that racism and classism are equal. No, they're not. Twins aren't the same person. They're not the same person at all. My wife had something. I'm sorry, I missed it. I think I got you. Hold on, baby. Where were you at? Sorry if I don't catch you. 2022, there is still legal slavery in the U.S. Talking didn't make an evil system. Exactly. The truth needs to be told. Period. Okay, I got that part. That's not what I missed. Okay, I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry to everybody if I'm missing your comments. I'm just not. It's a lot, right? Yeah, when people hit you with all lives matter, and somebody will be mad like, all lives matter, this and that or whatever. Okay, fine. All lives matter again. Black lives matter then, right? But then even Black Lives Matter organization, I'm not hip to that either because I know that that's putting blackface on a system that's not even ours. Black Lives Matter is more so for LGBTQ than it is for black people. Go look up the Black Lives Matter Black Lives Matter pyramid and see what they say. My wife said, I've never experienced such arrogance as this white man. I hate to say it, but it's my experience. And somebody would say the experience, say, oh, you're terrible, you're blah, blah, blah. Well, why won't you listen to her experience? Even the fact that you're arrogant enough to say that she can't even have a thought process is arrogant, right? Otto says the truth really does make you free from mental and physical bondage. Amen. Thanks for the agreement, regular. Crashing says, I can just feel the numbness coming, the humbleness coming through the screen. Oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate it. See, in this world, modern human history, white man has perpetuated such evil, maybe didn't create it. Book of Enoch was removed from the other versions of the Bible. Yeah, we believe that. We believe in knowing about the Book of Enoch and the Apocrypha and the Chronicles of Noah. Yeah, with you on that. That's not a problem for us. Freedom of religion, the white supremacy agenda. It were signs, whites only, crazy, right? Okay. I said you're welcome. Thanks for taking it correctly unlocked. Okay, well, I mean, look, man, the monitors are doing what they're supposed to do. At the end of the day, it's small stuff here or there or whatever, let your stuff just prove over time. The reason why they're doing that, you can see Kofi_43. We used to have 10,000 plus people, 30,000 plus people on here, and people kept lying about what we were doing. So this is literally the third TikTok page. We're on the second YouTube page. I'm trying to redo the Facebook page and trying to start using the IG page because a lot of people did that. So, the moderators are just making sure they protect the culture and make sure that people don't keep trying to lie on what we're doing. So we don't have to keep going to TikTok and do legal stuff just to be able to make sure we speak truth. So if you prove who you are over time, we'll figure out who you are as a community pretty soon. How do you get on Bible study? So we're kind of sort of doing a little bit of Bible study now, but our true Bible studies, we try to do that like once every Monday. If you send us your information, now we do it extremely early in the rising, so you got to be willing to get up because a lot of this stuff we do, unless I just outright ignore all of your comments, sometimes I have to do that to be able to get to what we're supposed to be talking about. But unless I just outright ignore your comments, a lot of times we're not going to be able to to have this, these conversations. But you can DM me, and I'll put information up in a little bit on how you can reach out to us to be able to get information from us and talk to us if you want and become part of the classes that we do, Bible study sessions. We're going to be doing watch night service. We got Women in Red coming up on Saturday for our sisters, brothers. You're invited as well. Hebrew holy days that we have on here where we travel to different places so you can come and meet with us, all that stuff. So, we can put that stuff in there. You said those books have officially been put back in the Bible, but there are still over 100 not put back in. I mean, we can talk about that, sure. I mean, some of the stuff is not. We make the mistake sometimes of even assuming that the Bible is only what's in there, as far as if it only goes up to Revelation, only up to a certain point. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that, or as far as our history is Israel, who we can see where Israelites were and what they believed and things that they did in different places in the world, way past Revelation. You can look up Flavius Josephus, right? Or Flavius Josephus, they call him, right? But and that's not really his Israelite name, but that's the name everybody knows him by. He has a lot of history about Israel and stuff like that. You can keep on going down to Oluwadach Equiano and look up what he talks about. You can keep looking at what the pictures and depictions of people are. You can look at what artifacts they found in the Americas. You can keep on looking at those things. So religion is nothing but a form of mind control. Number one, religion just means a legion of people that repetitively do the same thing. So if you religiously drink coffee, you drink coffee a lot. If you religiously think, you think a lot. If you're religiously amused, it means you don't think a lot. Okay. So the problem is not religion. The problem is what is that thing that people are coming to do over and over again, because everybody is religious by definition. That's cultural, right? So your whole thing is you think that because I hold this up, I'm a Christian. I'm not a Christian. You just assume my religion based off of the canon that I choose to be able to read. This doesn't choose this should inform my religion, but a lot of people read this and don't even inform their religion. Like, how can you be racist and you say that you come from this? How can you hate a black person when the people who wrote this, you would call today, by your standards today, you would call them black? How can you how can you hate a black person, right? This is not religion based off of this, right? Or somebody reads a constitution. How can you read a constitution and go through your constitution and you're reading your constitution and you don't even know the difference between the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States of America, right? Your religion is not based off of what it is if you don't understand the culture, right? It's protection of culture. That's what we're dealing with. We're trying to, amen, Sister Sonia, it's protection of culture. That's what we're dealing with. That's what it always has been. Being incarcerated as a servant of the state. Being incarcerated is being a slave, too. 13th Amendment. Is that freedom of religion and what? Okay, I read that one already. America with 3Ks, liberty, killed her people. Babylon is falling. Said it was regular practice across the world. Yeah, most definitely was. Most definitely was. And we should be honest about that. Yep, Satan does want us to hate each other. So when there's a system based off of hate, it would be satanic. Right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Jamal X? Brother Jamal X, I'm assuming. In your opinion, who's the most underrated artist of all time? I don't know. Andre 3000, maybe? KRS-One? Let's see. Eric says, you are blessed and highly favored. Amen. Thank you. Baby girl says, I want some info on the Poisonwood Bible if you have any. I don't know if that's the one we were discussing earlier, but I have to see. I have to study it. I don't know if I have anywhere close enough to even discuss it, in all honesty. Boone says, we don't have to talk about it. Was just adding food for thought. Okay. There's so many comments coming in. I don't even remember what stuff there is. I apologize. I'm trying to keep up. It says red, white, black, yellow. We need to stand together. I don't have a problem with that. I believe that black people should learn how to stand together. And then all people should stand together. But I don't even think black people know how to stand together. The so-called black man needs to know or knows how to stand together. So if we don't know how to stand together, how are we going to stand together with you? I ain't mad at nobody. I want everybody to come together. But if we don't know how to respect our own women and our mother and our culture and our own language, and don't even know how to ascertain truth from within ourselves, and don't even realize the spirituality, the kingdom that's within us and stuff, and we don't believe that the kingdom in us is as good as the kingdom that comes through somebody else, so we just deny the kingdom because we've been taught that the kingdom is better in somebody else's skin than it is ours. Right? We at a bad spot. But yeah, I definitely believe that the ultimate goal should be that everybody comes together. But how can everybody come together if certain people can't even come together? That we can't even come together amongst ourselves. That's like being like, my children should come together. It's like mom and dad, though, they throwing stuff at each other. I mean, it's possible your children can come together, but if they grew up in chaos like that, it's going to be really hard. Right? It'll be really hard. But once again, that's self-accountability, self-care, self-accountability, right? People don't want to have that part of the conversation, right? If you don't have self-control, then you can be controlled. If you take away self out of, if you take self from control, all that's left is control, right? You have to get self in order. That includes community. If I don't get my community in order, that means I can't worry about my community being able to do business with somebody else's community. I can't worry about my community even having business if we can't even take care of the business of loving each other. If we can't make sure that it's not a normal thing for people to go through several marriages, because in our culture is sex is marriage and marriage is sex. Matter of fact, even if you don't know the law, you know it because you have to consummate marriage. If you don't have sex with somebody you get married to, your marriage is annulled. It's of no value. You said, which is the true day to set aside worship? Shabbat, Saturday, Shabbat. You said that's what heaven is about, front porch pulpit. I'm sorry, I'm going so many different ways. You're gonna have to help me out. What was I talking about when you made when you made the what were you saying? That's what heaven is about? I'm sorry. Willow said bingo. Thank you for the agreement. Said you hear me. Okay, thanks you, Pierre. Or Pierre. I'm not sure which way you say it. Dashima says we have to learn how to stand together with each other before we stand with anyone else. Yeah, and by the way, the kingdom of heaven is about us coming together. I don't know if maybe that's what you were talking about. The kingdom of heaven is about us coming together. What religion am I? Um, my religion is to do the will of the Father that created and sent me. If you're talking about what you probably mean by what religion I am, you probably mean. You probably like. I guess you would say I'm a follower of the way, or I'm Israel, or I believe in the Bible. I guess. I see one other person. I can't give you that much time because it's time for us to take our leave. Matter of fact, if you're on the podcast, we appreciate you being on. Probably only got about 6 minutes or so before it's going to automatically have you guys off. I would have you guys come right back in, but I don't plan on being on that much longer. But Pierre, it looks like you were requested to get on, so I will want to get on. You can get on for a little bit, and then we're gonna take our leave. It says you connected. I don't see you on. I hear you, but I don't see you. I don't know if you still want to be on.
You got me?
Hello?
You got me? Can you hear me on this one? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't see you. It says connecting, but I do.
So right now I'm filling out some paperwork. Hang on.
No, okay, you cool. You cool. If you just want to talk, it's fine.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. So we're good to go?
Yeah.
All right.
Get your hairline. I'll get the chalk.
Okay. Real quick, what do you think about Ethiopia in relationship to American Christianity? Haile Selassie.
So when you do have, when you talk about Selassie, you're talking about, are you talking about like the Rastafari version of that? You're talking about straight Ethiopian?
Right now. Oh my gosh, it's cutting in and out. Can you hear me?
I hear you now, yeah. But when you're talking about Selassie, Ethiopian, we lost you. If you can hear me, we lost you on there. It said you timed out. I don't know why it said, because you weren't connected. That's why. Sorry about that. But it depends. I can try and answer you real quick. It depends. If you're talking about Selassie, as far as Rastafari, when they try to say that he is the Messiah, which he himself didn't want to be known as and felt, he felt very uncomfortable about that. I don't agree with that. If you're talking about the Cushitic or the Ethiopian Bible, as far as that, and you compare it to the Bible that also still exists in West Africa with Igbo people and with Shui people and with Ashanti and others over there, if you want to combine that with what is spoken through Yashra'al throughout the world, it definitely is hitting on a lot of points. It's definitely, one of the best translations that are there. Once again, though, before you get into that, I would definitely still make it a point to say that you got to know the culture. Because without knowing the culture, we're still going to miss it. But yeah, I think that's a great thing. It just depends on now you're talking about what point of view and what kind of culture or even misrepresentation. Because I'm not saying everything that's black. We got to be careful with that too. Everything that's black is not Hebrew. Everything that's black doesn't mean that it's positive either, right? As far as if we get into the skin color thing and everything. So once again, I have people in my family. I have Rastafari blood in me, and they believe some things that are not biblical, right? First of all, I don't have dreadlocks. I have locks. And secondly, I let my hair grow naturally. If that's a problem for you, I'll make sure that doesn't have to be a problem for you anymore. Thank you for being on, grandson, and have a great day. So But yeah, so it depends culturally. Everything's going to be coming out of culture. Let's see. The barber says, so can we designate a day to be the Sabbath, or we are out of order by not doing it on Saturday? So lawfully speaking, Shabbat is on Saturday, or Shabbat. Shabbat is actually the name of the day as well. So it's on Shabbat. Now the thing about Shabbat is that Shabbat is supposed to be a period of rest, a time of rest. A day in Hebrew even doubles the meaning, can also mean a period of time. So really, we're always supposed to be in Shabbat no matter what, but we take time out physically every seventh day as a reminder that we should set aside time. But we're always supposed to be in a place of rest. Whenever we sin, we come out of rest. So whenever you sin, you come out of Shabbat. That's cultural, right? That's what we're supposed to be. You heard that? Okay, cool. Thanks, Pierre. Sorry we couldn't make it work. Yeah, because I guess it was because you were connecting the whole time. I think it timed you out. If I had been able to see you, then it would have timed you out. But thank you. I got the gist of the question. So thank you all. We're gonna have to go back into this culturally. But anytime you mention, I guess I'm gonna have to do my best to try my hardest to not mention anything having to do with race at all. Because as you can see, we'll just sit in that all day, and then people will blame you. You focus on race, and I'm like, you guys are the ones asking the question and telling me to come outside. To not mention black at all. But it's like, how can I mention my people and not mention, what we look like? And a lot of people, just because I look the way that I look, they automatically come, oh, he hates white people. Here he is. But that's somebody else's culture. I can look like me and still have love for somebody else. I can look like me and still have love for my enemy. Matter of fact, shoot, you can't be, for real, most of the people aren't going to like what I'm about to say now. You can't be black and American and not have love for your enemy. I mean, I might have to put that as a TikTok video. People are going to be mad at that, but that's real. Like, you can't be black in America and not have love for your enemy. Hey, well, Guan, how you doing, fam? Right? It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't be in a place that's designed on hatred towards somebody and then not have love for your enemy. Right? Action. I'm talking about love, right? So you can't work for your enemy. You can't go get a job where your enemy's in charge of the job and then talk about you have no love for your enemy. It's impossible. I know you want to. I know there's some black people listening to me now that are on some tip of, I hate all white people. I hate what all they do. I hate the white man. I hate Esau. That's what y'all on. I'm not on that, but that's what some of y'all on. Not all of us, but some of y'all on that, right? Well, if that's what you on, just understand, you can't go to white schools. I don't care if you go to HBCU. They're accredited. If they're accredited, then that means that somebody has to give them credit. You know what I'm saying? If you use the money, I understand that, look, love of money is the root of all evil, but you should use money as much as you can. However, I don't get caught on money, but if you're using money with slave owners' faces on it. Every person on any dollar bill, right, is a former slave owner. Right. And and if you want to go to Susan B. Anthony, she didn't like black people herself, even though you could technically say she's a slave owner too. But even if you don't want to give her that, fine. She didn't like black people either. Impossible. You can't be here without loving one. In some way, shape, or form, you have to have some kind of action towards white people. So when somebody tries to tell me that I live here, and at the same time I have to hate all white people, it's impossible. It's impossible. Hate means to ignore. Anger comes with hate and stuff. That's where you get the anger from. But hate, if love is action and hate is the opposite of love, then that means hate is just inaction. In order for me to have no action with white people that hate them, I'd have to have no action. I don't have a life that allows me to not have action to have some kind of inaction with white people, which means that I have to show them love. Because if I didn't like them, or if I was sitting there and so angry and stuff and I fought them all the time, then all I do is just be getting put in jail because I'd be hitting people in the face all day. Just because they're white, I don't live my life like that, and neither do a whole bunch of you. Matter of fact, I would dare to say 100% of everybody listening to me right now is not out here going out looking for how many white people they can shoot or hit in the face and stuff. But that's somebody else's culture, where it used to be that if they were in charge, right, and still are, but when they're in charge, they're supposed to be able to do that to you. So they think that if you have control, they believe that control means that you would do the same thing back. And that doesn't mean that's what we're doing. Lenu, I'm going to answer a couple questions and we got to take our leave for real, okay? Lenu, is it Lenu Bien? I'm not sure. He said, wasn't Ham cursed? What's the name of your video on culture? I watched it and wanted to share it with my other brothers and sisters. We have so many videos on culture. I'm sorry. I had to think about that. You can refer them to the TikTok channel, hashtag FindKofi. You said Kemet is the land of Ham, and they were against Yah because of idol worship and their ideology. Not all black are Israelites, and not all white people are against Yah. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I agree with that part. But Ham was cursed. Yeah, well, Ham wasn't cursed. First of all, it was Ham's. Hold on. Let me make sure I got it right. No, yeah, Ham wasn't cursed. It was Ham's son, Canaan. Canaan was cursed. So we got to get that right first. And Canaan was cursed due to the fact that Ham did something wrong, and so since Noah was wronged by his son, he wronged Ham's son. So Canaan is cursed, not Ham. And that's why the land of Canaan, it was supposed to belong to Shem. And out of Shem, who came out of Shem to take the land of Canaan, that would have been Israel. But also, Ham still got to inhabit it because Ham came along with Israel for the ride. So even in that, we have to look at that, right? But a curse basically is just something that happens because of your being disobedient to the law. Helen said, I was taught to hate the actions, not the person. Amen. Then it says, buying black without foundation to recycle the dollar. And that's a big thing. That's why we got to get this system together. We got to get our own stuff together so we can recycle the dollar. Once again, you said, which Bible would I recommend? Culture is what I recommend first. Doesn't matter which Bible. I won't say it doesn't matter. Like the NIV, I wouldn't have you read. ESV or NESV, I've heard some weird things about it. The New World Translation, I wouldn't have you read. And that's somebody who grew up on the New World Translation as a Jehovah's Witness. I wouldn't have you read that. I would say, if you were talking about in English, you definitely want to make sure that you go to 1611 King James Version, get you that version, King James Version, but it's good for English. At the end of the day, though, you need to know the culture. You need to know the culture. You need to try and start learning some language. We have classes and stuff to help with that as well. When you learn that stuff, you're able to start growing. You said only from a person's choice you have enemies, like he's saying spreading love is the answer. Well, that's not a complete summation of what I was saying, but I'll go with that. Minister Tamara said we have enemies because we are against wickedness. As long as wicked systems exist, yeah, we'll have enemies, right? And then Mordo says if you love someone and send someone love... If you love someone, send someone love, how can they be an enemy? Love is about action. So watch this. So if somebody hates me, this is something that we do. Like we feed people, we give people clothing, stuff like that. If somebody can't stand my guts, I've still been like, I'm not going to let you freeze. Now, some people would say, let them die. That's not me. That's not my heart. That's not my belief system. So some people believe that you should go ahead and let them die. That's not my belief system, right? There's certain things, when I say this, I really mean this. There's certain things because of my empathy and my love for others, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. I've gone through some things that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Some pains, some thinking I was going to die at night out on the street, things like that. I wouldn't wish it on my worst of enemies. So if I see even them, even though they would do stuff to me, now I won't be a doormat and I won't allow that person that, like, the person stabs me, or they got a knife, they're coming at me, so I'm just giving them a coat and stuff and just being like, oh, take this coat, please don't stab me. Sir, no, you try to stab me, I might shoot you. I mean, just keeping it a buck, right? Like I'm gonna protect myself. But yeah, you can love somebody who doesn't like you. I don't fall to other people's mentality that says, and by the way, when I've done that, people have learned to be able to start loving back and put that down and try to be grafted in. Excuse me. What do I believe in the vaccine? Do I believe in the vaccination? No, I don't believe in any vaccination. And even if you're talking about the vaccination for coronavirus has existed since the 60s and 70s. You've been getting vaccinations for them your whole life if you take vaccinations and you didn't even know. So for somebody to come up with a new one and say you got to get that, what happened to all the ones that you've been taking your whole life? And if you need help with that or whatever, we do exemption letters for that and all that too. But no, I don't. But I believe everybody should have the right. I'm sovereign. Everybody should have the right to do whatever they want. There's stuff out there to protect you legally, but everybody should have the right to do whatever they want. If you want to take the vaccine, do it. I just don't believe it's natural medicine. I don't believe it's natural law to stick yourself with us, to attack yourself, thinking that makes you better, and to put stuff that gives you latrogenic effects. Why would you do that? My wife says we should just smile and dance and be happy. Don't talk about issues and they'll go away. Right. That's why people end up having marriages that last 40, 50 years and then you can't figure out how they got a divorce. Hey, shalom, Sister Benita. We're back on live on TikTok, by the way, just to let you know, too. I don't know if you knew that or not. So Clark says our mentality has been manipulated by the system. We must come to renew our minds. Amen. Hey, T-Time. How you doing? Thanks for being on. talking about the vax is a trap or a trick. Yeah, I got to leave it there. The vaccine stuff, I got to talk about outside of this stuff because World Health Organization and other people be paying attention to you, boy. So I have to be careful about what I say in certain places. But if you want to know more about it, you can DM us, you can contact us. Matter of fact, like I said, I got to take my leave and we're over. So we're going to revisit culture again. We talked about the importance. I think we've laid out why culture is important and how you can go to so many different places. So on the morrow, we will come back and talk about some things culturally as far as agriculture, things like that. We talked about some of it, but obviously we didn't stay connected to it too long. So we're going to make sure we take time out to do that. Thank you all for being on. I appreciate the king and queen in each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside that kingdom or queendom yet, we appreciate the potential king and queen in each and every one of you. Please take time out. Please, ma'am, please, sir, to check us out in different platforms. If you're on Facebook, if you're listening to the podcast later on, if you're watching on IG, just give us a chance on IG. Rather, it'll be up in the description box in a second. But above me on TikTok, you should be able to see very clearly, where you can go to find us. The YouTube channel is hashtag FindKofi. My name, KOFI, hashtag FindKofi. You can go to the website to be able to check out stuff that's coming on, including the calendar. Here's a number that you can be able to reach us at. Also, you can text us at this number that I'm about to give out as well. You have 202-599-7312. Again, that's 202-599-7312. Again, I say 202-599-7312. Last time. That's 202-599-7312. You can also check out my wife, Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can follow her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website. So we're thankful and grateful for you guys doing that. She is a herbalist, she's a healer, she's a chemist, and she's a biologist by degree. Because some people say you got to make sure you have that somebody's to confirm who you are. So she even has that if you need that. She has natural medicine. The tincture for the month is ginkgo, Gingko, if you want to do some research or talk to her about it. However, she has many different tinctures, which are just medicines that you can get sent to you. And feel free to contact her. Ladies, don't forget, December 18th, this Saturday, we're going to be on. Those who are a part of the Hebrew Holy Day Committee, I'm going to try and text you again today. We're trying to meet up on Zoom tomorrow, 7:00 p.m. Eastern New York time. If you could join us, we'd like to be able to talk through some stuff, not just concerning this year, but also next year. Remember, this is our year of pursuit. We're pursuing the promises of the Most High. Hashtag finish strong in those promises. We're going to start January, transitioning over from January all the way over to Shabbat. To Passover, which is April 15th, I believe. Whatever that Friday is in the teens there, the high teens, April 15th, I believe. And we'll be transitioning from this, a year of pursuit, to live, or where we're pursuing the promises, to next year, starting at Passover, where we're going to live in that which we pursued. Right. And if you want more information on the land project, if you want more information on classes coming up in January, if you want more information on just how to talk to us, get in touch with us, whatever, life coaching, marital coaching, all types of stuff, books, music, all types of stuff, just let us know and we'll get back to you ASAP. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. You feel free to DM us if you need to. Hit us up on Messenger, hit us up at the numbers, whatever. And we look forward to talking to you soon. And thank you so much. And our prayer, as always, is that you not just have heard this, you study it, pray about it, and make sure that you then begin to do it and put it in your life. We'll be back on tomorrow for part 2 of this series, having been led as we believe. We thank you so much for being part of it. And as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, aka the Shadow Ben One, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom. Shalom. I have so many questions about Shabbat. Shalom, fam. Take care. Peace.